Hopefully this is working. It's got two streams up and running at the same time because we've only got 5 minutes left before qualifying starts here in ACC. We've already got the tail end, the last few minutes of the GT7 stint. The first stint is still up and running. Aero is in that stream commentating. There we go. Just as you saw some lovely pirouetting there from one of the drivers. Right, I'm just going to get Pyro's stream up as well to see what's actually going on at the tail end of that one. So it looks like Team BMW are going to take a huge lead from the first race. Team BMW with Astro there. Performing very well, and then in P2 is the admin team. So Gunmad is in P2. The admins are in the Porsches this week. So we have Ryan and Bomber. There's Bomber out in P1 as well. So holding, well, continuing on that good form. And then Eli, I think he's in the Lamborghini. We've got Zico in the Lamborghini as well, and Super Cracker in the Lamborghini. 9 seconds off at the moment, just getting warmed up there. So it looks like those were the other three that are set to finish in the top 3 for race 1. We have some teams that are already over a lap down, so it's already going to be quite tough for those teams to try and claw back that lost ground. But with this ACC race counting for 50% of the score, basically, because we've got 30 drivers in this lobby as opposed to 15 in the 2 GT7 lobbies. Just bear with me. Just going to just open up my stream, just make sure everything's working all right. Let me get the link for the Just Giving page as well, because we are here for a reason, and that reason is we are fundraising for the charity Mind. It's a mental health charity, which is very important in the UK especially, and it has quite a big impact on a lot of people. So I'm going to pop that in the chat right now. We've already smashed our goal from last year. We raised about 1,300 last year. We're already above that now on the page. Actually, let's have a quick look and see what we're up to at the moment. We're already past 1,400, £1,413 raised. We're trying to get to £2,000. We initially set a target of 1,000 and, well, we smashed through it before the first lap was even done. So we trying to stretch ourselves, see if we can hit that magic number 2,000. So if you have any pounds spare, even if it's just £1 or £2, anything that you can give would be greatly appreciated by everyone at Aero League Racing. It's for a great cause there. But yeah, everyone's just practicing now. Let's have a quick look and see if anyone's on track here. The way that the numbers work, you can see everyone has Team 1, Team 2, Team 14. So that'll help with who's on what team. But they're also 2x2 in terms of cars for the most part. We have a couple of duplicates. We have 3 Audis on track. Just waiting for the 4th to join, it looks like. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see which cars come out on top here. We're at Spa. We've got 2 hours to go. We've actually only got 1 minute left of this free practice as well. I'm just going to get Pyro's stream up on my phone because I want to see how it ends. It's not good commentating, is it? But no, it's important to see if everyone finishes as they are. Looks like Captain Eli's got past Gunmad again. So Gunmad got past Eli. Eli looks like he's retaken that position. Not sure if there was mistake somewhere, but it's about the time. It's all 4 times added together will determine who the champion is of this charity event. We got 15 teams, and I think we've got 13 different manufacturers. We had to double up on a couple because ACC doesn't have competitive cars for a couple of them. So yeah, we're just entering into the waiting time now before we get started. in qualifying. We have to do a qualifying session for this one. This is the only session today that's going to have a qualifying session, I think, unless we just get started. But I'm pretty sure there's qualifying. Gunmad and Eli are having a great battle for P2. Still. Oh no. Let's go. So we've started. Team admin started well. If these two get good results and we've actually have a chance of winning this, then all the pressure is on my shoulders in the final race. After 2 hours of comms, jumping straight into the car and getting going. Well, I'll try my best. We've got a good car for it though. Porsche is pretty strong in both games. It's interesting because some of these cars are going to be stronger in ACC than they will be in GT, and the opposite way around as well. I think that Audi isn't one of the stronger cars from what I heard. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll have to see. Zico's meant to be very fast in ACC, but we've never seen him race here. But that is not Zico, that is Zito in the Audi. I think he's new, and then Paul as well in the Audi. Morrow, our championship leader in ACC, is in the McLaren, which I think is doing fairly decent. I think it's around about 6th position in at the moment overall. Can't see another McLaren in the lobby just yet though. Right, here we go. We got 15 minutes of qualifying, so I was right. Haven't played ACC in months. Oh well. You'll be used to it by the end of the first hour. Right, everyone heading out on track. It looks like Freddie Cabras is leading the field. Nissan at a huge disadvantage. I think it was Team Nissan who had Kanata in Lobby B who didn't show up, so it's going to be treated as disconnection. I'm not quite sure how that works out with the rules, but that means Nissan have a really big task on their hands if they want to start making some positions up. There's Scanlon for Team Admin. Scanlon, obviously the ACC admin. Yeah, let's stick with Freddie. Freddie with this beautiful purple and light blue livery. Interesting colour scheme. Everyone could choose 3 colours that they wanted, and yeah, the Nissans made that decision. Oh yes, it looks like Gunmad is going to take P2 for Team Admin as they're on the final lap already. 1 minute 23 down on Astro, so that's a huge 1 minute 23 lead for Team BMW. So you have to keep an eye out for their times, because that is what everyone else is going to try and eat into. Looks like the GT7 helper team are finishing 4th in the GT lobby, Deco 5th. Okay, okay. That was a good race to get us started. So what can the ACC lads show us here? It is one of the more iconic circuits. And is he going full throttle? I think he is, yeah. Trying to figure out if he's on a push lap or not. But yeah, so basically this is a 6-hour race, and the way that we're doing it is the first 2 hours we've just watched Pyro commentate in GT7, and the next 2 hours are going to be this race, 30 drivers, double the amount of drivers from the GT lobby in this race. So we have 2 splits, the amateur split and the pro split, which you can see the pros have a white number and the amateurs have a grey number next to them, so you can see who's on which team and how they do. So they'll all be taking time out of each other as well. If 2 of the drivers can get really top results, finish on the lead lap especially, by the end then they'll be in good shape heading into the final race, which is going to be the faster GT7 lobby with lots of, well, mostly tier 1 drivers, but some tier 2 drivers as well, and then me and Pyro and Wack are somehow in there. So the job for us will be just to beat each other, I think, and avoid too much embarrassment. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. Cabras just still only about halfway in his lap, but it looks pretty neat and tidy at the moment. So, right, let's get started properly then. We've got 10 minutes left of qualifying. We've got our drivers all are out on track right now. First Gagler cars just coming through the last few corners. We've got Team 11, that's Freddy Cabras, that's the Nissan team, coming around the final bus stop chicane before the laps start getting set. It's like a fairly solid lap for him. It will be a 2-minute 20.9, which is instantly beaten by our championship leader in ACC, Morrow, who is on a 2-minute 18.9. Papusoy, who is Mate, he is lining up in second at the moment for Team Ford, who are a few laps down, I know that much. Oliver for Team BMW, who already have their lead, he's popped up in third. And then we've got Steenstra for Team Audi up in first place. And Pole in third place as well for Team Audi, so that is a really good first couple laps. We've got Tom for Team AMG, who's just taken the lead as well. I think he's been in the chat, people have been saying he's been quick in practice there, so the AMG looks pretty strong around here. What about Scanlon? Scanlon is just coming to the end of the first sector, so potentially had an invalidated first lap. Let's see, where is Ryan? Our other admin, he is just starting his lap. Let's ride on board with him, see how he does on this, and see how if he can get a neat and tidy lap in. And we'll keep an eye out on the top, but at the moment it looks like AMG P1, Audi P2, and McLaren a P3 at the moment, and then quite a big gap to Weatherston in the Aston Martin there in fourth place. Hello, welcome to the stream, guys. This is ACC, if you're not familiar with it. Team Audi, yeah, Team Audi doing well, so that's BX's team. I think they had a pretty solid race one as well. Hopefully, if someone has the results from race one, if they could DM them to me so I've actually got them, that would be pretty helpful, because I can't quite grasp what's going on at the moment with the two streams going on at the same time. First ACC race you're going to watch, right, so it's quite a doozy. So I'll tell you a few key differences between ACC and GT. So ACC doesn't have different tyre compounds, so everyone should be just going hell for leather from the start. They have a lot of different ways, things that they need to manage. Tyre temperatures is the key one in the race. If you push yourself too hard and overheat your tyres, they're going to start dropping pace massively, by seconds a lap potentially, and you basically, the only way to fix it is to come into the pits. The pits are quite a bit longer than in GT7, so you lose a lot more time. You can get heavy damage here where your car essentially doesn't even move anymore if it's that bad. Sometimes you have to reset to pit, so you can potentially lose multiple laps in one incident with just purely due to damage. Penalties, the penalties system's quite good and quite bad. So the good is if you cut corners, you only get a warning if you actually gain time through cutting it, so it actually knows if you lose time or gain time. The other one is pit lane penalties are super easy to get because you have to stay in control of your car the entire time. If you get a penalty, it's a drive through, and sometimes it's a stop go as well, so they are quite brutal penalties there. Steestra goes flying through Radion there. That was pretty impressive. Kept it full throttle, it looks like, as well. Meanwhile, Scanlon has gone P1 there, so we've got Team Admin, who are currently second overall, taking provisional pole position at the moment, still ahead of Morrow in the McLaren. We've got Tom, who's dropped down to third now. We'll be looking to improve on that. And then Popov, that's Eroticos. He's up in P4, setting an incredible time. He's meant to be one of the slower drivers. So he's a rookie for ACC. Obviously, he's raced the GT7 quite a lot, and he's shown really good one lap pace, especially in ACC. He's kind of shown this pace in qualifying before, including the most recent round, but it's the race pace, obviously. Well, not the pace so much. It's just getting it to the end in one piece is a challenge in of itself in ACC. So yeah, when you're a rookie, I think that's the biggest learning curve. Making it and surviving the carnage in the opening laps especially. Imagine you and BX not having mod. Well, someone can add you. I don't actually know how to do that. Who should we watch? Let's watch Weatherston. Weatherston, by the way, guys, he is a 2-times ACC champion. And we're only on Season 5, so he's won half of the ACC, Season 2 and Season 3. Last season, Morrow won it, and Davey was in not one of the best cars. It was in the Honda all season, which I don't think was very good, personally. And he's trying again. He's got quite a tight championship battle at the moment with Morrow going on. Currently 4/10 off of his championship rival. With Steenstra, you might remember Steenstra. This is Tapos, who used to race in, actually he was as high as tier 1 at points, but usually in tier 2 in GT when he raced. Then he's one of the many that migrated over to ACC. This is Slim. Slim is in P7 at the moment. Nearly won the opening round of the season, but I don't think he's raced since. Tom, meanwhile, has just popped himself up into first place in that AMG, so we know that AMG is looking strong here. Where's his teammate? Yeah, Eroticos is his teammate in 5th place. So these guys have one hell of a setup, I'm assuming, because they're, yeah, two of the same team in the top 5. Let's see where Ryan is. Ryan's in 20th at the... Whoa! Okay, well that's not going to be an improvement. So Ryan is down in 20th. He's currently 2.4 seconds off the pace. He's also behind both BMW drivers who are currently ahead of the team admin. And then who was in 3rd place? What's that? Iggy is 7 minutes down at the moment. So that is Team Ford. They need to find 7 minutes on the entire field. Okay. They're currently P11 and P14. Well, there's a long way to go. Still 4 hours of these 6. We currently have 4 minutes of qualifying left. Let's see if Scanlon can improve on his time. He's just started a hot lap. He has to find a quarter of a second on Tom, who we saw set a blistering time, 18.1, before spinning the car. Why do you have admins in the lobby? In the chat? Well, I don't know, just in case people start spamming or trolling. Which has actually happened before. It's good fun. Not good for mental health though, which is why we're here. It's like that segue. Okay, Morrow in P2 is just 100th of a second down on Scanlon. Looked like he went really wide off that corner. Van Hoften. This is DDK, by the way. So he's also, I think he won tier 3 in a very dominant fashion a long time ago in GT, and then he has also raced in tier 1 in GT. So we know this guy's very fast. Only half a second down for Team Ferrari. Scanlon must be coming towards the end of his lap now. Let's see how he's getting on. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the results from the last race, but I can't find them. So that's not very helpful. Okay, now I've got them. So, Team 13, current highest driver from Team 13 is Polty in 17th place. They have an 82-second gap on everyone else. So they need to find some more time in this qualifying session and start a bit further up, because if they are shuffled down too far, that 82 seconds could be eroded pretty quickly. And they have those 82-second gap on Team 1, which is Scanlan. This is the admin team. So the admins of ALR. And he's doing a pretty good job of putting it up there. And the other driver in the admin team is Ryan, who's dropped down to 22nd now in the Porsche. So he needs to find a little bit of time. Starting in the top 20 or above at least one of the BMW drivers would be pretty good. And then Captain Eli finished 3rd in Lobby B, 83 seconds down on the lead. He is in Team 10. So how's Team 10 doing? Team 10 has Zico in the Lambo. He is in 12th position at the moment, just over a second away. And Supercracker, who is lining up 27th, so he might be in for a rough one in this race if he can't find a little bit more time. Team 7, by the way, Tom. Team 7 finished in 8th place, 120 seconds down. So if he can get pole position and build on that, that is a really good building block for setting them up for the final race. With his teammate in 5th place as well, that gives them a really good opportunity to eat up into that 120 seconds. Why don't we have... I know, yeah, the ACC has GT absolutely beaten on the cars that they've got, because they have actual up-to-date race cars, not made-up ones and 10-year-old ones, but hey, that's the way it is. We can't have everything in one game, unfortunately. So Tom resets to pits. It looked like he went wide when he was setting that lap there. We've only got 19 seconds left of qualifying, by the way, so this is the final laps for everyone. Scanlan is going to be the final one to cross the finish line, so he's got the track at its most optimal. It should be at its warmest. The track improvement should be there a little bit as well, so he's got a quarter of a second to find it. Looks like no one is beating the times as they're crossing the start-finish line. Stratton popping up in P11 for Team 12. That's the other Porsche team apart from the admin team. And Davis in P13, so that's pretty decent qualifying for those two. We've got Scanlan, and meanwhile coming into the bus stop chicane. Weatherston popping up into P5 right at the end as well. And is it going to be an improvement? Zico, Zico managed to get P1 right at the end there. So this guy doesn't even race in ACC with us. And I think everyone would be glad after that, because he's the only man in the 2-minute 17s, gets pole position, tier 1 driver, races in esports for Project Platypus as well, who've won a couple of esports titles in ALR. So he's very, very accomplished driver, and just gets pole position ahead of Tom, ahead of Scanlan, ahead of Morrow, and ahead of Weatherston. So quite a familiar 3rd, 4th, and 5th there. Then DDK has come back and popped it up at P6 from nowhere. Slim, our GT7 Tier 1 champion, is in 7th place. Eroticos, our highest amateur driver, driver, which is what they've been labelled for the race, not by me. He's beaten a whole host of first drivers for everyone else. So really strong qualifying for Mercedes. Audi in 9th, Honda in 10th, Porsche the first of the two from the other Porsche team are in 11th and 13th, with Ford, the first Ford, is down in 12th. The first BMW is 15th and the second BMW is 18th. So that might be a bit of a tough one for them when the race gets going. The Aston Martins look like they're struggling down in 22nd and 23rd as well. And you got Supercracker for the Lamborghini, who finished 3rd place Lamborghini in race 1. One of them is at the bottom, and one of them is right at the front. Well, Morrow's just beaten them. I don't know what's going on here, but I can't actually see drivers finishing laps. But yeah, it looks like we've actually got a couple more. This is the wonderful thing about ACC, you never know what's actually going. Morrow popping up in P20, and Stevenson, that's Rossi, who's won loads of things. He's down in 20th at the moment. So let's actually see what's happened with qualifying. Rossi got radio by half a tenth. Right, so Morrow P1, as expected, to be honest, in the McLaren. Zico P2, really solid for him and his ALR ACC debut. Tom is in 3rd. Scanlan is in 4th for Team Admin. Weatherston Team Aston Martin is in 5th. Then we have DDK, we've got Slim, Eroticos, Steenstra, who's also Tapos, and Griffith, who's new for me to be commentating on, in 10th place. Stratton is 11th, Pole 12th, Papu Soy, that's Matty, in 13th, Davis in 14th, Turty 15th, BO is in 16th ahead of Freddie Cabras, Dan Paris, then we have Polty in 20th in the other BMW. Remember, they are P1 at the moment. Then we have Rossi just beat Pipping, Maura and Ryan RDO just ahead of Munken, Omorda, Zito, who I think is another guy making his debut, Burkhardt, also known as Abmo, in 26th. Then we have JP and Supercracker, Fracas, and there's me. So we have to just wait momentarily for everyone to reset and put their setups on for the race, get new tires on, make sure that the fuel is just right for them. And then we're going to do a warm-up lap and a side-by-side rolling start to get these 2 hours underway. Morrow OP, yeah, definitely. Only one lobby on ACC because we can fit double the drivers in, so we don't need 2 lobbies. So Lord Hands, Team 6, they are the other team that's struggling. That's Coldman, who's popped himself up into 7th place, and Maura's in 21st. Udale finished 13th, Team 14. Team 14. Steenstra's up in P9. This is one of the Audi teams. Zito down in 25th. Okay. So with a lot of these teams, you're seeing one that's quite high and one that's quite low. It's quite rare to see 2 in the top 20. I think only 4 teams have achieved that. Oh no. I think I've done something. I can't return to garage. I might have to quit the... No, I'm not going to risk it. Oh, okay. There might be a little error because we've gone into drive, which means I might not be able to return to the garage here, and you can't really cycle your way through the grid reliably. There's Eco at the front. Let's wait until we go onto the warm-up lap, because if I leave the lobby and try to re-enter, I'm probably not going to get let back in because I'm just a spectator. It says it's going to be raining in 30 minutes. Okay. I'm hoping it lets me return to the garage. If it doesn't, we've got some issues. I don't want to quit. Okay. Let's just cycle through until we find number 1. There's Morrow. Okay. This might be painful, guys. You can't Call of Duty teammate. Nice. So let's see what gets started here. Any predictions for the race, guys? Put them in the chat. Who is going to be leading? Are BMW going to be able to hold on to this 82-second lead that they've built? They are starting a little bit further back in this race, outside the top 15. So they might be struggling to keep up with the leaders, but it looks like it might... Well, the track looks a little bit wet, to be honest with you. Yeah, there's the commentator, the announcer in the background. So are we going to get going? What's going on here? Okay, we are going. Let's see if I can return to garage now. I still can't return to garage. This is gonna be a tricky one, guys. Because to select different drivers, look, I'm trying to go from one to another. and you go from number 1 to number 10 for some reason. From number 1 to number 19. So if we want to get optimal camera angles and I'm not able to return to garage, which allows me to do that, it might be a struggle. You hope the admin team can catch up. Well, Scanlon lining up right at the front of the grid. I think he was either, well, it's showing he's in 4th place, so he qualified in 4th. He's just ahead of P3 at the moment. He'll have to let him back through at some point. Ah, bugger. I'll see once the race actually starts if it lets me. Unfortunately, ACC is not very kind on commentating if you want to do some live commentary on the race. So, Morrow's teammates today is... Who is it? Let's have a quick look. It's Claus, but is Claus actually here? I'm not too sure. I'll have to keep an eye out for a second team McLaren. When we were looking just before qualifying ended, or started rather, I couldn't see a second McLaren in the lobby. So if there's only one, that means the maximum time limit is going to be applied to that car, which is 140 seconds, it looks like, has been added to everyone who finished. 160, sorry, to everyone who finished, I think, more than one lap down, potentially. So that is what would automatically be added. That's actually a smaller gap from P2 to P15 than it is from P1 to P2 at the moment. So that's the advantage that BMWs currently have, 82 seconds on everyone else. That is a huge benefit. And if the BMW guys basically could just have a clean race without any incidents that make them lose time, they'll still finish on the lead lap and be well positioned going into the final race, which is going to be run in Team BMW by Pyro. So I'd be very excited to see if he could bring home a victory with all that pressure on him. Hoping Team WRC can recover a bit. Well, the Mustang, I've been just praising its performance all season long. It's a very, very good car. Very strong, especially at the top end. Is one of the best overtaking cars in the game, for sure. So, yeah, they could make some good progress up the field as the race wears on. We're just approaching the bus stop now, which means shortly everyone will be lining up side by side. It's going to be quite a tight 30 cars into the La Source hairpin, all at one time. We might see some drama up and down the field. I still can't return to garage. Pyro never bottles it. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't think there was too many bottles last season. Right, here we go. It's not actually into La Source hairpin, I was wrong. It's the other layer, it's the other starting point. You know where you start right before Eau Rouge, because it's the 24-hour layout. That's actually, it's better. It's much better than 30 cars going into this one hairpin. Look at the rain. The rain is pouring now. This is going to be madness. This is going to be chaos. Look at this. People already struggling to take the La Source hairpin, but Morrow taking it perfectly fine as we are starting to slow down now. Everyone's starting to line up side by side. We're getting... let's see if we can get a better camera angle. Let's start with this camera angle from Morrow. It might be the best one that we have to start. We might see some chaos behind. We are green and 2 hours of Spa are underway for Mind Charity here at Aero League Racing. Looks like a decent start from Morrow as everyone is snaking up the hill pretty slowly there. Morrow keeps the lead from Zico for now. It looks like Zico is going to try in that Lamborghini to get alongside the McLaren. Seems to have some good speed there, but it's going to everyone's going to have to be incredibly careful into this next corner. The top two having quite a big lead over what's going on further back. Looks like, can I get a better angle? Zico has managed to get past it. He's taken the lead in what is a very, very wet race at the moment. Zico and Morrow completely clear from the rest. The number 8 car is out, as well as the number 7. They aren't moving just before Eau Rouge there. Let's see. I can return to garage. Thank God. This is going to improve everything now. So let's see what's happened. So Griffith is back in the pits. We've got loads of drivers in the pits, actually. So they are going to be probably at least a lap down. Morrow, Paris, Oliver, BMW driver, by the way. So that's a huge blow for Team BMW. Tierney, Griffith, Steenstra, and Tom. Bad news for all of them. Tom was right at the front as well, so he was involved in some drama. Scanlon, meanwhile, is up in 3rd place at the moment. Let's just go back into drive and change this camera angle. There we go. This is what you have to do in ACC to actually get anything done. So Zico has a huge, well, not a huge, he's got a very slender lead, 1.3 seconds on Morrow. Then there's quite a gap to Scanlon in 3rd place. He's 3.7 seconds back. Weatherston 4th. DDK Van Hoften is in 5th. Eric Slim Coldman is in 6th. Just Ryan has popped himself up into 7th. I'd love to see what happened to him at the start. Looks like he's got a couple of scuffs on his car, but he is the highest of the B drivers here. And yeah, that looks like a very, very strong start for Team Admin. His car looks really battered at the front as well, so he's definitely been involved in some drama as he nearly goes wide there, manages to keep hold of it. Yeah, and his bonnet is about to go flying up as well, so he's definitely got a fair bit of damage on that car. Not that he's showing it, because he's caught up to Coldman pretty nicely there in that last section of the track. A lot of drivers still in the pits here. So this is the end of the first lap. That was quite a long lap for these guys. Zico now with a 2.1 second lead. He's absolutely come into ALR ACC and said, "Oh, this is easy. Come on, guys. I'll just gap you by 2 seconds in the opening lap, including an overtake for the lead." You love to see it. A huge performance so far, but we do have a long, long way to go. Yeah, and changing conditions. It looks like it's not raining anymore. It was definitely raining at the start of the race, and it looks like it's not raining, but there are a lot of puddles. It probably will start drying fairly quickly on the racing line as time goes on. These guys don't need wet tires, but you do need different pressures for the wets and the dries, because it's so important to keep the tires in temperature in ACC, and if it drops too cold, then you're just sliding off track as if you know, driving around on an ice rink essentially. But yeah, the top 3 seem to have completely gapped P4 DDK, who's managed to overtake Weatherston. Weatherston's had an issue somewhere there. He's dropped a position. He was just behind Scanlon not long ago, so he's got some recovering to do in that Aston Martin. Yeah, the damage definitely has an effect on the handling of the car. Different damage has different effects on handling. They try to be as realistic as possible in ACC, so it's pretty cool. But it's not good when you're driving. If you really damage your car, you can't even drive in a straight line. You have to completely turn your steering wheel. Coldman still just ahead of Osbaldeston, and Rossi Stevenson just behind as well. So this is another one who's won lots of things in ALR, Rossi, but he has not raced in ACC recently, that's for sure. But yeah, he's joined and he's doing pretty well. Let's see what's going on a little bit further down. Lots of drivers in the pits. Steenstra out is in. Actually, he's still in the pits. There's lots of guys who have been in the pits for a long time. So this is going to be multiple laps at this point for these guys. If you have to reset to pits, you get a massive time penalty where you just feel like you're sitting in the pits for forever. Team Mercedes had a great qualifying that we were talking about. Highest driver now is Popov. He's in 13th, so still not doing too badly, but he has lost some positions since the start. But crucially, he's still in the mix. And then his teammate Tom is still in the pits down in P20. God. It must be absolute touch for these people. Zico is up to almost 5 seconds his gap on Morrow at the moment. Absolutely loving these wet conditions. This is Team 10, so just to remind you, because we weren't talking about Team 10 too much before the start, but they actually finished in 3rd place, Captain Eli, in race 1, 83 seconds off the lead BMW. But as you can see, both BMWs in the pits right now. They have absolutely 100% lost that lead. It will have gone to I think Team Admin is in the lead at the moment, because we've got Scanlon in 3rd and we got Ryan in 6th place at the moment. Coldman falling all the way down to 9th there. So that means Team Admin currently have the lead of this race. Just a slender one, because Supercracker is maybe 20 seconds back. So I think they might have around about 20-25 second lead over Team Lamborghini at the moment. So Zico really wants to be extending this lead to be offsetting Cracker losing a bit of time. But Cracker up at P12 is actually super impressive. Also another one who's never raced in ACC, races in Tier 5 in GT7 at the moment. So yeah, he started pretty solidly there, I've got to say. So yeah, at the moment, my team's winning. Sorry, guys. It won't be for long, especially when I race a little bit later. But Zico just putting a lap on that Audi as well. It looks like a replay of the beginning of the GT7 race. Cool. So, Morrow is actually being caught by Scanlon here. We've got a nice little battle for P2 shaping up. Scanlon looking more comfortable than Morrow. Maybe Morrow's setup is only for the dry, and he's struggling a little bit in this wet compared to usual, because he doesn't... yeah, usually once he hits the front, there's no looking back, but he did lose P1 and has lost a lot of time to it as well. Scanlon now only a second behind. Make that 0.6 of a second here. Scanlon looking to keep his tyres a little bit cool by going on the inside line where the pit wall is, where the cars haven't been clearing the track from the spray with the tyres. Yeah, multiple laps some of these guys are down. They still haven't essentially started the race if they reset to pits, and they have 4 or 5 minutes worth of damage. We are 8 minutes into the race. And it looks like Morrow has a little bit of trouble on his hands. Scanlon with a little bit of damage there as well. I'm assuming that, and on the front and the back. So he's done well to survive whatever happened. I think it was in the corner right after the back straight, which will have no doubt sent Tom back to the pits as well. Van Hoften in the Ferrari at P4, putting a lap on the Audi as well. This Audi just having to get out of the way from everybody. That's the number 14, who is number 14? Tapos. So yeah, Tapos, one of the quickest guys here, but he's currently having to pull out and allow himself to get lapped there. Van Hoften up into 4th now, Davey 5th. And we have... Ryan's actually been shuffled down to 7th. He's been overtaken by Rossi, which isn't a surprise looking at the state of his car. I'm wondering if when he makes his pit stop... Oh, he goes a little bit wide as well. Is that going to be another position lost? Freddie Cabras was pretty close to him. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the timing screens. I think he did get past him, yeah. So, no panic. No panic at the moment. Still solidly both cars in the top 10 for Team Admin. Anyway, let's just put the... Oh, 1 second. The donation link back in the chat and talk a little bit about Mind. Let's find the link first, that would help. There we go. So, currently... we've got a goal of £2,000. We're at £1,429. So if you donated or you're planning to after the races, thank you very much. It's all, like I said, very much appreciated. Me and Pyro actually have a little bet going on, which I, at the end of race 1, was going to have to pay nothing towards, but I think that's going to jump up significantly, considering how much time his teammates in the BMWs have spent in the pit so far. Basically, every position that car 13 finishes ahead of, Pyro will donate a tenner to Mind, and for every position that they finish behind, I'll be donating a tenner. So it's 140 either way. It's just who's gonna have to foot the bill. At the moment, I think Pyro still will be footing it slightly more than me, but that might change. I think it looks like it's definitely evened up. We got Polty in P20, Oliver in P23. It looks like he's 3 laps down at the moment, though. Remember, that's just 160 seconds by the end, according to the calculations that I saw a little bit earlier on. So I don't think, at least it can't get any worse, but very helpful for me, nonetheless. Scanlon has settled. Oh, no! Oh my goodness. I clicked on him right as he was spinning out. This is our number 1 team. He's absolutely lost it on one of the corners. Took a little bit too much speed. Span into the barriers there. Dropping positions. He's going to have plenty of damage on his car. It looks almost as damaged as RDO's. I don't know if that is going to be good enough to continue driving. It looks like a handful coming around these corners. He's dropped down to 5th as it stands, just 1 position ahead of his teammate, who's having a nice little battle just behind with Freddie, Cabras, and Stevenson as well. All 3 line astern. But let's see what's happening with Scanlon. Scanlon's losing quite a lot of time there to Weatherston. He's been overtaken. He's already 2.3 seconds down. He's going to get caught potentially by Freddie Cabras, who's just got past Ryan that we just saw there. He's 4 seconds down at the moment, but that time is going to start hemorrhaging because it looks like Scanlon is struggling a bit for pace here. Is he going to come into the pits? If he does, he's going to be trying to go incredibly long time. I don't know if you can go 1 hour 47 minutes on a single tank of fuel, so this might end up having to be a recovery drive with 2 pit stops in this race as opposed to 1. So let's see if he's coming into the pits. He's not. He's carried on, so he thinks that he can survive on the damage, or maybe he's just going to give it a full lap to see how much he loses. He's now he's dropped 3.1 behind Davey, so yeah, he's losing about at least half a second every sector here. But hey, that might be worth it if you can stretch out the 1 stop. If you could just stick it out until you can get back into the pits. It was a huge crash. He's done well to avoid massive suspension damage, to be honest. It looks like we're going side by side between Rossi and Ryan again. These guys, and Freddie Cabras, sorry. These guys having a right back and forth here between the Nissan there and the team admin. Something's happened to Zico. Zico's actually come into the pits. So what is Zico up to? He's come into the pits at the end of lap 5 from the lead. Freddie's dropped position as well there. Actually, no, he hasn't. That's Ryan. They're in the same team, which is a bit confusing. Getting confused with those liveries. So yeah, good start for Team Nissan there, who weren't represented in the first race. So they've got a big amount of time to make up there. DDK, meanwhile, up in P2. He's quietly risen through the ranks as the race has unfolded. 9 seconds off of the back of Morrow at the moment, so fairly good, but he's under a bit of pressure here from Davey. Davey fancying another position here. Aston Martin versus Ferrari. The Ferrari has a bit of damage on it as well. The Aston looks pretty neat and tidy at the moment. It's getting a lot of money my end. Right. Well, there's less pressure on you now, Pyro, at least. Talk about pressure. DDK's under a lot there. He looked like he might have gone a little bit wide into that really fast corner, which might have compromised him down into the bus stop. He's going defensive as we brake, and they're going side by side. Davey's going to try, and he looks like he's going to succeed because DDK instead opts to go into the pits. So people starting to make their first stop. Supercracker in the pits as well, so it's definitely a Lamborghini strategy here to come in this early. Popov also in the pits, so quite a few drivers coming in at this stage. it's not. I'm almost certain that you won't be able to make it to the end by coming in this early. So they're going to have to make more pit stops. But it does say Zico has made his mandatory pit stop. You can see there it shows as green as opposed to a number 1 next to everyone else, which means that they need to make 1 pit stop still. So that counts as their valid stops. If you go all the way to the bottom, you'll see some of these guys who were in the pits for a long time still haven't made their mandatory stop. That's because they had to reset to pits as the rain has started coming down again. What is going on? It is raining again out of nowhere, and I wonder if the tire pressures on these cars is gonna help them, because some of these have come into the pits, put on new tires. We should have given them a bit of extra pace. Now it's raining again, and it'll throw a huge spanner in the works. We've got DDK and Ryan in the pits now as well. So Morrow has carried on. He's got a 9-second lead over Davey, who's got a 7-second lead over Scanlon, who we saw have that problem. He's already back up into the top 3 with all this going on. So not sure what's going on with the pit strategies. We have to keep an eye on Zico. He basically is our net race leader. He's just behind Fracas. Fracas qualified last place. He's found himself in the top 10 at this stage. Not seen any major spins yet in the wet since it started raining, but it is coming down pretty heavy. Just coming into Eau Rouge now for Zico. Manages to get through it fairly decently. Going to close the gap on Fracas quite a bit there, I think. And is he going to be able to get past Fracas? Not making it easy for him in the Audi there. And yeah, the overtake fairly straightforward in the end for Zico. He's up into 8th place now. Let's see what's going on a bit further up. Davey slicing into the lead of Morrow. He's down to 8.3 seconds. So he started to feel more comfortable in these wet conditions than Morrow, who seemed to struggle a little bit at the start compared to some of the other guys in the wets as well. He seemed to be coming back to Morrow a little bit when it was drier, and now it's raining again. He might start losing a bit more time. Into the pits now comes Davey. So he wants to get off his tyres. He thinks it's not going to be beneficial to stay out on those. Scanlon, let's see what he does. If he comes in now, he'll be able to at least fix his damage, but he's decided he is going to risk it and stay out. There is a stop-go penalty for Ryan. That's going to cost a lot of time, because you have to not only go into the pits, you have to wait for 30 seconds, and that will be for speeding in the pit lane. So that's a huge blow for team admin as well. So we've had Scanlon in the wall, and we've got a stop-go penalty as well, which is going to hand the advantage to all the other teams, including Team Nissan in 4th and 5th right now. They are both deciding to risk it and stay out. I think both of these drivers will feel like they are comfortable in the wets. You have to take Eau Rouge incredibly carefully there to make sure that you may survive. Slim up in P6 in the Lexus as well, performing pretty well in that Lexus. What about BMW? They had an 82-second lead. Pulte down in 20th. BO is still in 23rd. So they have been in the same positions since we last checked. They haven't made any progress at the moment, but there's still a long way to go. Coldman's struggling here with the driver behind him. That is... I'm not entirely sure. It's not Davis. Is it a car that's actually a lap down wanting to unlap itself, potentially? It might be Mate, you know, I'm not sure. Number 19. Yeah, it is Mate. So he's trying to unlap himself from Slim. These two have had lots of battles in ALR in the past. Usually they're on the same lap as each other, though. Come on. I want to see him unlap himself and do it in a clean way. I just don't have much faith with all this rain coming down that that's going to happen. So, at the moment, there's not going to be many people left on the lead lap for either the Pro or the AM class. Because everyone's been in the pits for, like, multiple laps at this point. Here we go. There is the unlapping from Mate. Slim, is he going to try and get it back? It looks like they're still fighting. This isn't good for either of them, to be honest. Mate gets through, though. Feeling comfortable in the wet weather, apparently, and that Ford Mustang is going to start driving away from the car that he's just unlapped himself from. Morrow continuing to stay out, continuing to feel comfortable on these tyres. Zico is up into 7th place now, but he's about a minute behind, maybe 50 seconds. So it's interesting strategy at play here. Zico's going to just try and stay out potentially as long as possible, but maybe knew that the rain was coming. These guys get told a lot of information by their race directors as time goes on. And they can also see what we can see at the top of the screen where it says currently raining. In 10 minutes it's going to be raining. It looks like even harder than it is right now. And in 30 minutes it looks like it's going to be cloudy, so potentially the rain will be stopping in the next half an hour and we'll get an hour of a drying to dry track. Unless it starts raining again, obviously. But yeah, everyone's doing pretty well on this wet track at the moment. Zico trying his hardest to try and carve up some time, but we haven't seen for a little while what his gap is to Davis in Team 12 ahead of us. Team 12 finished in 5th place as well, so that's a pretty decent race so far for that Porsche. The other one, his teammate, is... I think he's not in the race anymore, so yeah, there's that. Is Ryan serving his stop go? No, he's still going. Losing positions though and struggling a little bit in this very wet condition, so he's a bit stronger in the dry and starting to fall back a bit now. He's right next to Stevenson, who's up in 4th, and he's dropped down to 11th. Yeah, not quite sure what's happened with Ryan. He did go into the pits, but it doesn't show that his pit stop was actually a valid one. So he did something wrong in the pit lanes. That's not speeding, I don't think. I think the speeding would still show as valid. But he's coming in to serve his stop go penalty. We'll see in a little bit what happens. Zico's in the pits as well. What is happening? Zico looks like he's got some damage on his car. Maybe that's why he's coming to the pits. I'm not too sure. But it is raining a lot heavier now. The double rain you can see in the icon there is coming down, and then in the next 10 minutes it's going to start lighting up again. But yeah, Morrow's just completely stayed out, and some of these guys have come into the pits on more than one occasion on what looks like potentially strategy, unless there was an incident that Zico was in that we didn't quite see when we looked away from him for just a moment. So yeah, Morrow with a 22-second lead over Scanlon, who's got heavy damage on his car at the moment, but I think most of these cars have heavy damage on it at this point. So this is looking really good for the single McLaren. Let's see, there is definitely not another McLaren in here. So that's not going to... Yeah, McLaren aren't going to be in contention. The Nissans might drag themselves back into contention here, because both of them are in the top 4 currently, even though Kanata didn't show up for race 1. And Coldman doing really well in the Lexus. Davis, who we've not seen much of, is doing really well in the Porsche. And then Davey is the highest of the drivers who've actually set a valid pit stop. Out in 7th. Got plenty of clear air in front of him. And he's decided that then was the time to come in. His tyres probably lost a little bit too much pressure, and he knew that he would start struggling for grip in the wetter conditions. And he's looking like he's lapping pretty tidy there, as if it wasn't raining at all, to be honest. So what can Morrow do from here? He can just do the traditional stay out for an hour, do your pit stop, and then stay out for an hour. Or he could come in maybe 15 minutes and do a 2-stop. I think that might be what my preferred option would be. But it's all about, like I said, it's all about time management. If you've got the skill to last that long, maybe Zico's struggling with his tyres a little bit as well, but he's dropped behind Davey now. He is out of the pits, down in 9th position. So there's huge gaps between a lot of these guys at the moment. Let's see if I go into timetables, will it show me how far down? So only the top 8 drivers, down to Fracas, are on the lead lap. Looks like everyone else is a lap down, including Zico, because he's pit twice. And then only the top 17, sorry, are on the opening 2 laps. And we have a lot on 6. Then we got Abmo and JP struggling. It looks like Griffith didn't come out of the pits at all in the Honda. So bad time if you're a Honda driver, because they are not going to be, well, they're going to be scoring maximum time there. Let's just talk about Scanlon for a little bit. He's pretty much lapping very similarly to Morrow right now, but he's got so much damage on his car. He's getting caught by Freddie Cabras. Freddie doing an amazing job in that Nissan, which makes sense given the damage on Scanlon's car, but he's completely outlasted everyone outside of the top 4. Everyone else has just decided to pit it in opportune times, or yeah, the inevitable big mistakes. But yeah, Scanlon could have been challenging for P1 comfortably here if he hadn't have hit the wall. Oh, taking a lot of curve is brave with wet tracks like this. They're very slippy, but he managed to hold on pretty fine. And yeah, Cabras now less than a second behind him. And not too far behind him is Rossi as well, down in P4. Might start closing the gap to these guys if they start battling as well. So the Nissan is probably set up to deal with the wet weather a little bit more than some of these other cars. It's feeling very comfortable. And just as I say that, it looks like Cabras made a little error on the long left hander and dropped a second or two off the back of Scanlon. What's Zico up to? Zico, the highest Lamborghini, pit twice and is over a lap down now. Fracas is the last driver on the lead lap. He's yet to pit. And where did Ryan come out? Ryan came out in 14th, so he's still doing pretty decent. His race is against Stevenson. They're in the same class, but Stevenson is right up there with the very top boys. Ryan was up there as well not too long ago, but has started making some errors. He's come out of the pits. Looks like he's fixed all his damage as well. Oh, and he saves it. That's a good little power slide out of that corner. Let's have a look at Rossi. Team 11 down near the back at the moment. That looked really fast through over his Radion. He is closing the gap to his teammate Freddie as well. Over a second over the last lap he's gained. So if anyone is comfortable in these wet conditions, it looks like it's Rossi. Maybe saved a little bit from the wet conditions because he wasn't as quick in qualifying in the dry. But he seems to be really comfortable in the wets. Raced a lot in every single game. He's raced in F1, he's raced in GT, he's won championships in both. He hasn't raced in ACC since it's made its comeback. We're 5 seasons in now. He moved on to PC racing, but now he's back. Oh, number 14 is currently off track. Who's that? I think he's quite low down. It's Steenstra again, having a bit of a nightmare, letting a few cars through as well there. Yeah, Scanlon at the head of this little battle with Cabras. Still, oh, and Scanlon goes wide there, rejoins with no drama though. Popov's recovered, Erotico's up into P10 as well, so he's doing pretty well. He's only a lap down. Still nursing that broken car though. And we are just over half an hour in. We're a quarter of the way into this stint in ACC. Currently the gaps are Morrow for Team McLaren has quite a huge lead, over 20 seconds. I think we're getting over 25 now to Scanlon, who's got quite a nice little battle with the two Nissans right behind him in third and fourth place. Nissan looking really strong in these wet conditions. Then you've got Coldman for Team Lexus in 5th, Davis for Team Porsche in 6th, Weatherston for Aston Martin in 7th, then we've got Fracas for the GT helpers in 8th, Zico for the Lamborghini 9th, and Eroticos in the AMG in 10th place. 4 of those are silver amateur drivers, and they're putting a lot of the gold drivers to shame, to be honest. Some really strong performances from a lot of people who haven't raced a lot in ALR ACC, so maybe this will give them a bit of encouragement to sign up and have a good crack. We race every Wednesdays in ACC. 1 hour race is quite similar to this one, just cut it in half. Pit stop's mandatory. Cabaras and Stevenson very close together now. Looked like a little bit of an error by someone going into those last couple of corners. But Stevenson's still behind Cabaras, only by 7/10 of a second. They've got a lapped car in the way as well. Kanata doesn't put his last as... Yeah, well, I don't know who put the thing in, but that obviously needs fixing. He did finish last, but I don't know what the penalty is if you don't even race at all, but it should be greater than whoever finishes last in the lobby, in my opinion. But I don't know what the system is that we're using, to be honest. So Scanlon getting away, he's got past a few of these lapped cars who are still, and probably maybe a little bit quicker than Stevenson is at the moment, who's still just behind his teammate Cabaras, who's trying his hardest, with Stevenson having a little glitch there, to catch up and overtake these cars ahead of him who look like they're having their own fight. Let's go a little bit further back, see what's going on. Ryan down in 14th now, dropped a position. Almoda has made his pit stop, and his car looks in good shape, up into 13th now. So 2 Aston Martins in the top 13. Kanata got 2 laps down in GT. Boyan was 6 minutes back. Oh no, well, Kanata needs to be put behind Boyan. I think he needs like a lap on top of wherever Boyan finished. That would be the fairest, in my opinion. Those gaps need fixing then, because 160 seconds is not 6 minutes. That'll be 600. Anyway, doesn't matter. So how's Zico doing? Zico, our 2-stop wonder. We don't, because we wonder why he made 2 stops. He's down a lap down still in 9th place. Let's have a quick look at the timetables and see if everyone else is still on the lead laps. So we're waiting for some of these guys to actually finish the laps. I think Coldman down to Fracas will still be on the lead laps. There is a big gap between Zico and Fracas still, so big that you can't ever see it on the timing screen here, because yeah, for some reason it just doesn't ever want to show. 21 seconds there is what he's got to close the gap in on Fracas. So let's see what he could do. He's definitely got the pace on Fracas. Fracas in the Audi. I think the Audi should be pretty strong around here. It looks like 3 of them are in the top 12, so that tells you something. Boyan will take 160 seconds. Well, if we give, like, everyone here would get 160 seconds if that was the case, because look how many, like, look, 3 laps back, 21st down to 28th, more than 3 laps back, which is more than where Boyan finished, but we've still got 1 hour and 25 to go, so, like, how many of them are going to finish more than 3 laps back? Maybe the top 15 might finish within 3 laps if the mistakes keep happening at this rate. I don't know. We'll have to see. It should just be all the times added up together, I think. Maybe it's all going to get worked out after Ryan finishes. He did have a race to prepare for, after all. Anyway. Stevenson's still 1.4 seconds behind his Nissan teammate. So this is going really well for Team Nissan, both in the top 4. They have lost a bit of time to Scanlon now, 3 seconds. And yeah, still struggling to get past these cars that are a lap down. So that's the number 8 car. Number 8 is, I'm not too sure, Griffith? Not sure who Griffith is. Maybe that's Tom. I don't think it was actually, but anyway, he's managed to get out of the way of one, and here comes Rossi to try and put a lap on him as well, and he's getting out of the way as well for that one. So there, well, actually he stayed ahead for now. I thought he was pulling to the side, but he didn't. Rossi's going to try and go through on the inside of turn 1. He has to get it as a bit of an overtake, but he does get it done. So they've got some clear air now, up to Scanlon, who's still 3.8 seconds ahead of them at the moment. Meanwhile, we have to wait and see what the gap between Morrow and Scanlon is at the moment, because he's still out, still not, you know, even think about pitting, and still lapping pretty strongly. The fastest lap of the race is currently with Zico, so he's currently the fastest man out there, but he's got 8 seconds down on Fracas, but it looks like Fracas might have just overtook Davis here, who's actually come into the pits. He's coming out now by the looks of things, so we'll stick with him. It looks like he's fallen behind Eroticos, so he's slotting in between Eroticos and Zito, so he comes out in 10th place, which you'll see when he comes across the next sector line. There he is, down in 10th, and it doesn't actually show that he's made his mandatory stop there, so he's going to have to come in again. Let's see if there's any action a little bit further down. So you got JP down in P27 in the Honda. Honda is a little bit of a handful, so I'll give him that. He's down, completely cut off from the rest. Actually, let's see how many laps down he is on the timetable. Currently, JP is 10 laps down. No, he's done 10 laps, sorry. But the lead lap, well, let's say lap 14, because these guys still haven't come across. So he's about 4 to 5 laps behind everyone else at the moment. So that's the gap between the top and the bottom currently. The rain is still pouring pretty hard. Dan coming out of the pits in P26. He has made his mandatory pit stop now, so he could opt to go to the end if he can make it, but I think he'll be making at least one more stop. That's the Ford team struggling, like we said a little bit earlier on. They're both in the pits in the opening laps of the race. Munkin's made his mandatory stop. He's down in 23rd. That is the other Aston Martin. So we've got 4 Aston Martins in here, have we? Because we've got Davey, we've got O'Morda, we've got Munkin. I think that might be it. Where's the 4th one? Unless we got a quit. But one of them is the ACC helpers chat. That's O'Morda and Turty. And then the other Aston Martins is Davey and Munkin. So where's Turty? O'Morda is there. Oh, Turty's in P17. So actually, the ACC helper team, represented by O'Morda and Turty, in P13 and 17. They're both still doing fairly well. They've both, well, look how damaged Turty's car is. That's yeah, he's definitely been in the wars, and he's decided to stay out. Still hasn't made his mandatory pit stop yet, so he's probably just trying to make it work as best he can. Potentially getting caught by Mate fairly quickly as well. 50 seconds down on Morrow. So he's been in the wars, because I remember seeing this car battling a little bit earlier on. His teammate O'Morda's car looks like it's in a little bit better shape as he finishes his 14th lap. I was hoping that I'd be able to do some live scores, but this is just a little bit too complicated. Look, you can't even see half the positions for everyone. DDK was at the front for quite a while at the start of the race. He's languishing down in 15th, so he's definitely been in the wars a little bit. He did make his pit stop. He's stuck behind a car that looks like it's getting out of the way for him. Ryan is a little bit further up the road, so he won't be battling with him just yet. That's an Aston Martin. I think it might be Steenstra, actually. It's not. Steenstra is actually coming into the pits. It'll be Steenstra's teammate, Weatherston. So, interestingly, DDK is behind Weatherston. They were battling each other, but now Weatherston has a lap on Steenstra. Not Steenstra, on DDK. And DDK looks like he's got a bit more pace at the moment, but he's just not going to be able to pass Weatherston very easily. So, just sticking behind and trying to make some progress with him in tandem might be the best strategy there for DDK, just behind Davey here. So let's have a run through the top 5. Slim in 5th place, performing incredibly well. Last time we saw him, what's going on? A little bit of driver letting Davey get a lap on him. So is Zico going to be, not Davey, Coldman actually got past there, was it? No, he wasn't. Sorry, it's a bit confusing. Yeah, so Davey's pretty close to the back of Slim now. 1.6 seconds is the gap. It's going to start getting exciting there. It looks like Zico has finally got past Fracas, and he's putting a bit of pressure on this Nissan here, who looks like it's Rossi. So Rossi might have started falling back a little bit. He's dropped behind Coldman, he's dropped behind Weatherston, and he's dropped behind Zico. So he's definitely, in this sector, had quite a big moment. Yeah, so that's going to propel Zico up to P6 after overtaking Fracas on track. He's managed to get past Rossi as well, who's had his first mistake, but he still is going to be a comfortable P1 of all of the B drivers. So that is somewhat reassuring, at least. He's still on for kind of a class win. It brings all of the B drivers a little bit closer to his time as well, which they'll be grateful for. Very long sector here. We want to see Rossi fall down on that leaderboard to confirm it. Zico looks like he's just behind Cabras as well. So Cabras has also fallen back. He's not in 3rd anymore, and Rossi's not in 4th. Oh, shit. This stream is not going well. Zico's actually a lap back on all these people. Oh, fuck's sake. Okay. But Rossi is not keeping up with Zico. So that's an interesting kind of conundrum for them. Rossi completely off track there, going down the back straight, but he might be the optimal race line, I'm not sure. Yeah, he's struggling to keep up with Zico. Zico's trying to unlap himself slowly from the entire grid here, which he's able to do because he's the fastest man on track at the moment. Freddy Cabras is the next up, he's going to try and unlap himself from. So if I was Freddy, I wouldn't be putting up too much of a fight here, because I'm trying to focus on my overall time with my teammate. Is getting involved in a battle is just gonna be distracting on that. So into the pits it looks like comes Morrow again, and Mate's come into the pits again as well. Mate doesn't look like he's got any damage as he's rounding the corner. Maybe a little bit, but not enough to actually come in. So maybe he's just started struggling a little bit for tyres once a fresh set on. Out he comes. So out of the guys who've made a valid pit stop, Davey is definitely first. The track is now drying again, and if you look at the weather forecast and what it says there, it's currently damp track and no rain scheduled for the next half an hour. So this should be the period where everyone's pace starts coming to the fore a bit more. It's not so much about survival, it's about potentially sticking on a new set of tyres for the dry conditions and absolutely going for it, which I think is what a few of them did that when we saw them coming into the pits now. They've already made that call to pit and try and go as long as possible while the conditions are good on the optimal tyres. But it does drop you back a whole lot of places. And when you look at the top 4, none of them have even come into the pits yet. And they seem to be lapping fairly solidly as well. Zico up to P7 now. He's got quite a gap to Slim. I think it's a lap, pretty much. So he's got a lot of work to do. He needs these guys to come in to the pits at least one more time than him to kind of even the playing field. Up Eau Rouge, how confident is he feeling? Takes a lot of the curb, so he's feeling very confident there. Completely over the curb at Radion. So this damp track is not impacting that McLaren too much. We've got Cabras and Scanlon up in, well, Cabras up in P2, so something's happened to Scanlon. He's dropped time. His car looks even more battered than it did before. Coming into the La Source hairpin, he's lost that position to Freddie Cabras. He's still not coming to the pits despite having that huge spin. Now we've got Stevenson trying to make a double Nissan podium right behind as well. Both of them kind of side by side heading into Eau Rouge. They'll have to get out of the way of each other. It looks like Stevenson has got the position and it looks like he might lose it as well. No, he saves it up through Radion. Now that little moment might lose Stevenson that position back to his teammate again. Scanlon getting away with it there. He's still somehow in second, but he's lost a lot more time to Morrow. We're just going to see what that gap is now. 42 seconds is the gap between P1 and P2, which is pretty much what it was in the first race as well. But we've still got 1 hour 13 to go here. Morrow on an absolute charge. Scanlon holding 2 Nissans back with a badly damaged car there. And he's doing a fine job of it because they are queuing up behind. We've got Rossi in P3 up into the podium positions for the first time in the race. Cabras, who was in P2, shuffled down into 4th with all that. Davey back in the pits again. So he's decided to come into the pits. Everyone else is deciding to stay out. Davey doesn't feel that he could do that. He's back in from P5. He's just coming into the pits now. He has a tiny bit of damage on his front bumper, not enough to need to, so this must be a strategy decision. Let's see what's happening at the front. We got Scanlon side by side again with Stevenson. Stevenson has the outside line and looks like he's got the position. I'm not sure what Cabras is. Cabras is completely off track. He's been involved in an incident, probably with the 2 in front, and he's just starting to get going again now. He's still ahead of Eroticos, but he's lost a couple of positions on track there, but Eroticos is over a lap down on him anyway, so he's going to get away with that spin. Scanlon loses the position to Rossi. Rossi, insanely, the B driver is beating everyone but Morrow at the moment, just completely feeling comfortable in ACC here. Weatherston's still in the pits. He's probably going to get overtaken by Zico, who's coming across the start finish line now. He's carrying on. We've got the sun, looks like it's peeking its head out now as well, so that's going to dry the track even more. The track is now greasy, so it's improved from damp to greasy, but if you have a look at the weather, in half an hour it's going to start raining again. There's the stop-go penalty for car number 27. I think that's Davis. Yep, so he's going to drop down a little bit more as well. It's all going to start kicking off pretty soon. Zico now 70 seconds off the back of Davey. We'll see what that turns into when we cross the next sector line though. Because Davey's been in the pits, so that might not be 100% accurate. Now it says, well, he's actually ahead of Davey, who's made his pits. He's 65 seconds behind Coldman though. So he's getting there. He's only just over a minute behind the driver he battles every Sunday and Monday in ALR, Slim in P5. We've got Stevenson and Scanlon making the decision to come into the pits finally now. They are 50 minutes in to the race. Morrow decided to stay out even longer. He's about to lap the number 5 car. The number 5 car is Paris, who's already 5 laps down himself. Why not make it 6, eh? But yeah, Morrow looking very comfortable here. Freddie Cabras looking like he's trying to stay out as well. He's got a very damaged car after his incident, but he's still up in second. Still hasn't made his pit stop. We got Rossi and Scanlon making their pit stops now. I'm expected to see a shiny new Porsche that's going to be pretty rapid when he comes out of the pits, because he'll put in some car repairs as well. Looks like Rossi doesn't actually need to do that. as we got more cars diving into the pits as well. Rossi up and away. And Scanlon is waiting longer because he is going for those repairs. So that is going to drop him quite a bit behind Rossi. But Rossi gets a stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So that's going to completely drop him out of contention there. That's a huge blow for him and for Team Nissan, who he actually was rejoining pretty high up still. Yeah, he's behind Coldman. Scanlon just coming out now. Zico is still nowhere near these guys, despite them making their pit stop. So they're on fresher tyres and all that. And yeah, this is very good for Scanlon, who just comes out ahead of, is that Fitz? I'm not too sure who's, it's in the AMG behind. I think that's Tom. Oh, it's Fitterer. There we go. Who's come out just behind Scanlon. But Scanlon should be on a charge now. As he's coming to the end of the line. He's got plenty of clear air in front of him. He's just come out ahead of 2 lapped cars, so that's very fortunate for him. And he's got the stop go for Rossi, which is going to propel him ahead. What's Morrow going to do? He is, yeah, he's just halfway through his lap at the moment, so he's still carrying on these tyres. Cabras is still carrying on as well. He is now, it doesn't actually want to tell us what the gap is, unfortunately, but he's that far back. Then we got Coldman in P3. He is not too far away from getting lapped, actually, the P3 driver. This is pretty insane. If you just look on the minimap where Coldman is right now, just coming up the back straight, Morrow is 3 corners away from lapping him. So this is insane pace from our ACC leader. Much more insane than we're used to seeing from Morrow, but this could potentially be a charity race winning drive from Morrow. Obviously they're going to get the maximum penalty for a driver not taking part in this race as well. In race 1, the McLarens, Team 9, finished in 6th place, so there was a 100-second penalty by the looks of what I can see here. Well, he's definitely gained a lot more than that if he's almost lapped the entire field. A bit wide into the hairpin there. Pretty scruffy hairpin, to be honest. But he is still carrying on. Maybe that's a sign that his tyres are starting to struggle a bit now. The sun is shining. The track is still greasy, though. It's not completely dry. You can see a pretty dry line, though. So as long as they stay on that and don't get too adventurous. He is on the rumble strips a little bit, so they do have that confidence as well. This is the perfect part of the race to lose your car, though, with the greasiness. If you just go a little bit offline, you can suddenly lose all your grip. A little bit wide there for Cabras, still doing all right. He's 49 seconds ahead of Slim at the moment, who's yeah, got a very scuffed left side of his car. Stop-go penalty for Ryan. He's actually coming in to serve it now, so we'll see where that drops him back. Similar thing happened to Ryan. That's Rossi, by the way. Similar thing happened to Ryan at the beginning of the race, and that's dropped him down to 14th. So we see where Rossi comes out, because I know that Ryan had some sort of incident as well. This is probably going to promote Zico up into 5th place now. So Zico back in the top 5. I don't think we can rule him out just yet. He is still a lap down from Morrow. Morrow has to make his pit stop. That would unlap Zico from him. And then it just depends on the strategy and consistency from then on. But Morrow deciding to continue to stay out. Really sliding through some of these corners, though. I've noticed that a few times now. The battle for the lead of the B drivers looks like it's between Fracas and Stevenson. Stevenson coming out near his teammate, but a lap down, so he's lost a whole lap on his teammate Cabras, and he was ahead of him, what, like 5 laps ago? So this has been a disastrous 5 laps for Rossi. He's still out. Let's see where this drops him down to. Yeah, he's still showing as in 7th, so he's only dropped down to 7th, whereas he was competing in the top 4 not too long ago. He's got a lot of time. He's got 37 seconds to try and catch up to Davey, but Davey and Zico, the 2 drivers, and Scanlon, the 3 drivers directly in front of him, are the ones that have been setting some unreal pace so far today. Oh, here we go. Morrow finally in the pits. So this is going to be good news for a lot of people who are going to unlap themselves. Including Erotica, because car number 22 is just going past him now. He's just going to be one lap down. Look at how slow you have to go. It's such a long drag to the pit box. And while he's doing that, I'm just going to excuse myself for 2 minutes. Because we are halfway through a long race, nature calls. No. So I managed to go and come back, and Morrow was still in the pits. That's how long the pit stop is in ACC. But he has, by the looks of it, come out still in P1 because P2 Cabras is just coming into the pits now himself, and Slim is at the La Source hairpin. So the new gap between P1 and P2 will be Morrow and Slim, who's having a nice little battle with a car who really is keen to unlap himself. That's an Audi. Pretty damaged Audi as well by the looks of it. He's always been lurking behind Slim for the last few laps that we've been looking at him, so he's got plenty of pace on him. But let's see what this gap between Morrow and Coleman is going to turn into. Yeah, he just lets him unlap himself. He was looking very racy there, wanted to do it. Coleman 22 seconds behind Morrow as it stands. Scanlon's going to slot up back into third place as well with a much cleaner car. Looks like he's had a trip off track though. Fixed all of his damage from earlier on, and now he can try and at least secure a P2. He wants to stick in with it as much as possible. Where's Ryan? Ryan is in 13th at the moment. So the two ALR teammates actually rocking slightly different ALR liveries there. Well, they've got the same colours, just a different car layout. So yeah, still doing pretty well. Oh dear. Good evening, Alessandro. So where's Cabras filtered out into? He is in the middle of quite a bit of traffic there. He's just come down the pit straight now. He's behind a couple of cars that he needs to lap. He's quite a way behind Scanlon. Scanlon's basically about, well, yeah, half a sector ahead at this point. Zico in the pits again. What is going on with Zico's strategy? I don't understand it. You lose so much time in the pits. Morrow's made his one pit stop. This is Zico's third now, and it doesn't look like his car has any damage on it. I'd be really keen to understand what his strategy is. If anyone knows it. Oh, Morrow's in the wall! He's just completely lost it. Look how damaged his front end is as well. He's got going again. That looked very similar to the incident that Scanlon had a little bit earlier on. He's just come out of the pits with a lot, and he's, yeah, completely just knackered the wall there. Who's got the fastest lap at the moment? Oh, Tom's got the fastest lap. Scanlon's got the fastest lap. They both do. Interesting. Anyway, That is massive for Morrow. We'll have to wait and see what that does to the lead. Coldman was, I think it was 22 seconds back before he face planted the wall there. Halfway through the race officially now, and it's just completely turned on its head. The gap to Coldman is down to 15 seconds. This has potentially completely opened up the race for Scanlon to take the victory here. Team Admin had a P2 in the first race. Scanlon, if Morrow has to come into the pits and get rid of this damage, or he might try and stay out for 50 minutes. I don't know what would be a better idea. I think I'd want to just get rid of the damage, but yeah, you lose such a lot of time in the pits. Zico, meanwhile, is down and looks like he's rejoined in P8. So he's still behind Fracas again. Fracas still hasn't pit. He's doing a pretty solid job in 7th place. Really, really good race there. Actually beating 3 other Audi drivers who I think it's fair to say people would put as a little bit faster than Fracas. Morrow struggling through that corner as well. Curbed it massively. And it looks like his diffuser is hanging off the back of the car as well. So that'll be impacting him even more. Let's see what Coldman comes through. He was down to 15 seconds. How many seconds is he losing in just a single sector to Coldman? 14.9. He's not losing that much time. He is slower. He would get caught with 58 minutes to go. But Coldman has to come into the pits himself anyway. Some people haven't stopped yet, so they spend their entire period. No, you don't need to change tyre compounds when the rain comes out. You can do the whole race on one set of tyres in the rain and in the dry. The issue is the tyre pressure, the tyre temperature. You need to keep the tyres in the right temperature, but you need different pressure on the tyres in the dry and in the wet. Unless you're some kind of rain god and you can manage the tyres in the dry and the wet. Some of these guys are struggling with that clearly, which is why they're coming into the pits. And some of them have just stayed out the entire time, like Fracas and Slim. They're just ignoring the fact that the rain tyre physics exist and just absolutely going for it. Team WRC in P17. Yeah, he's had his troubles. It's the Ford team, and Dan has had his troubles as well, down in 25th. So, yeah, it's looking good for you, Iggy, for starting on pole position in the final race. At 9 o'clock is when we start. I hope that I have a little break in between this commentating and starting. But yeah, it looks like we're going to finish with maybe 20 minutes for me. I've got to set the lobby up as well straight after this. So everyone, if you're waiting for the lobby, you can't do it until this race is well and truly concluded. Scanlon, meanwhile, the gap between Scanlon and Morrow, because if you discount Coleman, who has to make a pit stop, I don't think Scanlon will, because he stayed out for so long on a damaged car. He's 30 seconds off the back of Morrow at the moment. Morrow looks like he's going to tough it out with his diffuser dangling off, cutting corners left, right and centre as well. He's maintaining the gap as best he can to Coldman. No idea why Zico's been pitting. I don't know either. Iggy, I don't know who's going to be on pole, but considering the 3 performances so far, it's looking good that you might be on pole. But then you've got to think, like, this guy's 19 laps down because he hasn't even come out of the pits. It's Team Honda in the shambles because JP's right there. Team Ferrari, Abmo. Well, no, you've got one in P11, so you're probably going to be behind them. Lord Hans, Team 6. Lord Hans didn't do too good. Lexus. Well, one Lexus is in 2nd place right now, so you're probably starting ahead of them. So yeah, might be quite good. Well, no pressure on you to just gallop away and win the race, because if you don't do that from pole position, what's that say? Washed. The allegations of washness will begin again. So what's Coleman managed to do? It was 14.9, it's now 14.7, so he's managed in that whole lap to shave 0.2 of a second off of the time of Morrow, who's got quite a badly damaged car. So considering that he's clattering some of these corners, he's actually minimizing the time loss pretty well here. The one that is gaining loads of time on everybody is Scanlon, because his tyres are fresher than Coldman. He is lapping a lot quicker. The gap was down from 30 seconds a lap ago to 27.9 seconds to the leader. So with that kind of pace, Scanlon is definitely able to catch up tomorrow in the next 55 minutes. Unless we see pit stops happen. I'm not sure if these guys will opt for another pit stop or they'll try and stretch it all the way to the end. If Morrow decides to try and stretch it all the way to the end, it might be a struggle for Team McLaren to get that victory in the ACC race. Little look back into the B category, the amateur. I don't like calling them amateurs because they're beating the guys that are labelled as pros. But yeah, the B category, Rossi is comfortably in the lead of that with Fracas in second, but he still has to make his pit stop, which would promote Eroticos up into second in the category ahead of Zito. We've got Ryan doing pretty well in 12th place overall there, and then Curtis, is it Curtis Davis? That's the footballer. He's in the other Porsche in 14th. And then Matty is actually in class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in class, so not too bad. Super Cracker 8th in class. That is fantastic for Cracker. He's having a really strong race there, solidly in the mid-pack for Team Lamborghini. So yeah, 2 Lambos in the top 17. Then the first BMW is in 18th, that's Polti. He's going to try and catch Cracker in the next few laps. Zico's going to be catching up to Fracas and trying to overtake him yet another time. He's done a few overtakes on Fracas in this race, and then keeps pitting afterwards, and then Fracas just keeps staying out and getting overtaken. So the strategies are evening themselves out, but Zico now with a 5.6 second lead on Fracas. Fracas getting out of the way for all those lapped cars as well, it seems. But the gap at the top to Scanlon was around about 25 seconds now. He's continuing to cut through the lead of Morrow despite having to come through this massive amount of traffic as well. Carlos. If you win the whole of GT, ALR is in shambles. Yeah, but they could just say you started on pole, you had it on easy, so... You want the challenge. If you win from further back, then I'd agree. It would be shambles. I don't know. Where's BX due to start? I don't know. I don't know how all the maths is going to be working. And where's Viking due to start? Where am I due to start? I'm going to be starting right at the back at this rate. That's good though. Less pressure. Gunmad started at the back and it worked out pretty well for him. So the gap between Coldman and Scanlon is now under 10 seconds for the first time. Scanlon carving out 6 seconds over the last few laps on Coldman, who is losing time now to Morrow as well. He's in traffic. He's just nearly at the head of all of these lapped cars that he's trying to overtake, but his car will not be at its peak performance after nearly 70 minutes on these tyres, non-stop, in rain, in dry, in rain. And now we finally have a fully dry track for the first time, just in time for the rain to start coming down again in about 10 minutes time, just to shake the order up a little bit more towards the end of the race. One thing that also catches drivers out, and that's probably happened a few times in this race, is you have presets for what you want to do when you come in the pits, but it's very fiddly to do when you're driving at full throttle. So you're on a time limit when you come into the pits to make sure... that's Zico unlapping himself on Coldman there. So he's unlapped himself on everybody apart from Morrow now. So yeah, if you miss out on that window, then you're going to put on the wrong type of tyres. Maybe you put on used tyres. Maybe you don't fuel up correctly. All these different things can happen in the pits. Which means that you either have to just grin and bear it and start losing time compared to what you were doing before, or come back into the pits and then lose probably a lap on everyone else. So that's a really easy mistake that a lot of these people make. Slim off track a little bit there. We've seen him go off track there a few times, so I think even though it looks a little bit slippery out there, it must be dry enough for him to feel comfortable to do that at this stage, maybe for another couple of laps as well. You've been playing in the mud with grown men. Okay, I'm not gonna ask any more information on that one. Scanlon now is just 1 second behind Coldman. Coldman letting another driver unlap himself. Coldman completely losing all of his pace now. Scanlon has done an incredible job of catching up to the back of him. There's now 18 seconds between Scanlon and Morrow at front, but he's got one driver that he needs to overtake on this straight, which he's looking really fast through Eau Rouge there. And not sure what happened to Scanlon. Scanlon's managed to get past him somehow through Eau Rouge. Didn't have the right camera angle, but Scanlon is in front, and he's up into second. He's recovered massively from that spin and the damage that he had earlier in the race, and he's now only 17.8 seconds away from victory, because Morrow, as you can see, has a lot of damage on his car. His rear suspension is pretty damaged. He's got his bonnet is about to fly open and give him some vision issues, potentially, with how battered that is. So it's going to be a really tight one, but even if Scanlon can't overtake for the win, it is a timed race, so as long as you can finish as close as possible to minimize the time, that would still be quite a big victory. But he's got 49 minutes to try and catch Morrow, potentially in the window for more drivers to make a second pit stop if they've decided to make two, coming in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll see if Morrow decides to try and come in early and try and do a two stop as opposed to just the one stop, or if he's going to try and stick it out until the end. If he does stick it out to the end, I don't think he'll keep P1. I think he might lose P1 to Scanlon, but he does have quite a big gap back to Weatherston in P2. Coldman, meanwhile, completely dropped off the back of Scanlon. He's 3 seconds back in a single sector. He's completely lost it at the moment with his tyres. They're completely done and dusted now. So is he going to come into the pits finally? He's one of the last people to stick it out there. Fracas is the only one who hasn't made a valid pit stop, and then we've got Burkhart, who hasn't either, but he's been in the pits for other reasons for sure. Okay, so let's have a quick scroll down and do some teammate comparisons. So we got the team Nissan, Rossi and Freddie Cabras, with his damage. That's allowed Rossi to have a bit of a gap, about 4 corners worth of a gap on Cabras. 32 seconds. Look, that's a long 4 corners. Anyway, so they are the highest pair. And then you've got lots of ones. You've got 2 Audis, but they're not actually teammates. Then you've got Ryan, so that's team admin in P2 and P12, but that P2 might end up becoming a P1. So that's really strong result for team admin at the moment. You've got the second, well, no, he's part of team helper. He's not the second Aston Martin. There's the second Audi, so team Audi doing pretty well. And Team Lamborghini doing pretty well, because Supercracker still holding on there in P17. Looks like he's got Polti behind him a few lengths back, and then another driver who's not on the same lap as him. The gap at the front is now 12.6 seconds. Morrow continuing to struggle. Coldman continuing to stay out as well, so he's just having a fantastic race here. Potentially the Lexus has as big of a tank as it does a GT7, because he's not running out of fuel anytime soon. You might need some more WRC shilling. I could do some shilling for you. We have 4 leagues in ALR. The ACC is one of them. That race is on a Wednesday. We've got a few leagues in GT7, but we've got the esports and the Monday League. So that's Sunday and Monday, which are the main ones. Then we've got, well, I was going to say F1, but that's kind of dead now. Sorry, F1 guys. And then we've got WRC, which actually runs any time, because you're just setting a rally against yourself, but you're competing in the league against everybody under the league rules as well, and with prize money. We've got prize money for every league as well, which is pretty awesome, which is supported by our Patreons. But yeah, so if you've got a bit of spare time, you want to start something new, WRC is quite a cool game to get into, and it's quite easy to get into as well. There's a lot of different ways you can get involved with different difficulty levels as well. So yeah, feel free. You think Slim is OP? Well, yeah, Slim is OP, we know that. He's won the Tier 1 Championship most recently, but he's dropping 11 seconds back on Scanlon. He's probably going to get caught by Davey fairly soon as well. There is quite a bit of gap between them at the moment, but yeah, Slim's going to have to make his pit stop and maybe drop down to 6th, potentially. He was behind Stevenson and Cabras before they made their stops, and they'll be lapping a fair bit quicker than him at the moment. Scanlon just behind Fitterer. about to put a lap on another car. Then we got Morrow, who's only 6.6 seconds ahead of Scanlon now. It is dropping massively. He's, I think that's Zico about to unlap himself as well. Yep, it absolutely is. So let's stick with Zico as he tries to unlap himself from Morrow. Let's see how much Morrow fights this as well. He'll know that Zico has a lot more pace than him at this point of the race. And he's got to be a little bit careful though. He must know that there's damage on that guy's car, and he's got a little bit wide. The rain is coming down as well, just to make things a little bit more interesting. There's contact between the two, and another driver has gone completely off track there. I couldn't see who that was, but Morrow. Oh, it was Morrow. Morrow's been knocked off the track in the rain. That is going to give Scanlon the lead of the race for the first time. He takes the lead for Team Admin. That is huge scenes there. Morrow in the mud, quite literally, as the rain starts pouring down, as Zico was completing an attempt of unlapping himself. And this has blown the race wide open just as the rain starts coming down. Morrow with loads of damage, completely off track there, unable to do any sort of battling. I'm sure he's pretty angry in his room right now as he's playing. But yeah, I think he might want to come into the pits. If I was him, I think this might be the best opportunity to. You've lost the lead. What's he going to do? Is he carrying on? He is coming in. I'm a psychic, aren't I? What about Coleman? If I was Coleman, this would be the perfect time as well. Look at the weather forecast. So it's going to start getting heavier rain for the next half an hour, and then it's going to dry out once again just for the last 15 or so minutes of the race. This is crazy, this wet race. So into the pits comes Coleman. Weatherston, let's stick with him and see if he comes in. Scanlon obviously feeling comfortable to carry on. He's going to have an absolutely enormous lead at the front here on everyone else. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. God, I can already feel the pressure piling on me now. Davey's gonna come through. We'll just watch him for this first sector and see what the gap is between him and Scanlon. Unless Scanlon completes the second sector before he finishes the first, then we won't actually see the gap between them. Morrow in the pits now. Coleman in the pits as well. Morrow's probably going to take a little bit longer in the pits because I'm sure he'll want to repair all of the damage that was on his car. It was costing him multiple seconds a lap, as we could see the gap between him and Scanlon reduced from 30 seconds plus to getting overtaken in just a short while, to be honest. Maybe it was a mistake not coming in a little bit earlier for Morrow in hindsight. So the gap is 41 seconds for Scanlon. All of a sudden, from absolutely nowhere, from being 30 seconds off the lead himself, he's got a 41 second lead on everyone else. Morrow is still in the pits. Coleman is still in the pits. They are right next to each other. Let's see who actually leaves the pits first. Coleman had a 13 second gap to Morrow ahead of him as they came in. So whoever comes out first. Stevenson coming into the pits himself as well. There's Morrow. He's still in the pits. This is an excruciatingly long time. Cabras is the next person to try and get past them, but he's only on the back straight himself, so he might not even do that. They still haven't. Okay, out goes Coleman. Coleman does get the position on Morrow, which is crucial. Morrow's having to fix all that damage. It's actually costing him a lot of time here. He might actually himself get overtaken by Cabras. This looks like a hefty repair job for Morrow. He's lost at least position to Davey, to Scanlon, and to Coleman. We'll see where Cabras is. Cabras looks like he's going to keep that position. He stays out. He's got damage himself, which he's opting not to fix. Morrow is coming out of the box now. We know he's lost the position to Coleman, who is pretty far away. He's already going through the next sector. And Morrow's gone from P1 to a distant P4 in the blink of an eye, to be honest. And Admin is leading. Well, he is very good. He is very good. But what about the other Admin down in P9? He's actually third in class as well with the other two drivers in the pits. Don't lose it, don't lose it. He doesn't lose it. So yeah, you're right. It is looking very good for Team Admin. But the problem is I'm the last driver and I'm like the slowest person in the fast lobby. I shouldn't be in the fast lobby. Oh dear. Everyone doing an absolutely amazing job on my team so far. And I'm not even practicing right now. I'm just sat here chatting to you guys. Davey in the pits. Davey's come into the pits as well. So he's going to surrender his P2 for sure to Coldman, and Morrow might get past as well. Morrow with 14-second gap down on Coldman. Coldman and Morrow had a great battle between themselves for the victory in Laguna Seca in round 1 of this ACC season. They're now finding themselves in a fairly close battle for the podium with 40 minutes left of this race. Davey is coming out of the pits now, or is he just coming in? It's difficult to know. It looks like he's just making his stop now, so this should be enough for Coldman. Even though he's got the bus stop and La Source and Eau Rouge and Radion, I think it might be enough with the length of these pits to get that position. We've at least got 10 more minutes of this very heavy rain, and that's why you're seeing people go into the pits, because it's just too heavy for the settings that they have on their car to be able to drive it safely around the track. So everyone is opting for caution, even though it's losing them huge amounts of time and creating these huge gaps that we're seeing between each driver. Davey is just leaving the pits now, as well as one of the AMGs who is a lap down. It could potentially be Popov. Yeah, it is car number 22. Final pit stop for RDO as well. Scanlon's come into the pits himself as well. He had a huge lead, so I'm expecting him to keep it because everyone else has just come in. Coldman comfortably ahead of Weatherston. Morrow has just passed Weatherston coming out of the pits as well, which is what you just saw on your screens. So that worked out pretty well for Morrow. He had the speed, but he's completely cut the corner. Drive through for Mate, that's an absolute nightmare for him. I don't know what happened. Potentially track limits is usually why you just get the drive through without the stop go 30 on top of it. Oh, is that even heavier rain? So if you look at the weather tracker on the top, just on the right a little bit, it says rain plus. Heavy rain plus. So that must be the heaviest that it could possibly rain, which is coming in about 10 minutes. So we're going to see some cars absolutely flying off. Everyone wants to be on maximum wet downforce, I'm sure, for that. Scanlon is just parking up in the pits. We've got Coldman just starting his third sector now. 15 seconds up on Morrow himself. So this is a huge lead for Coldman that he's actually increasing. Morrow struggling to drop Davey. Davey doing pretty well in these wet weathers settings with Cabras 26 seconds behind them. So we've got to see what happens in this battle for P3 and also where Scanlon comes out. But I think Scanlon should keep his P1. He's already been stood still for a while. He doesn't need to repair his car either. He's coming out of the pits and Coleman's not at the bus stop yet, so it's looking comfortable still for Scanlon in P1 after his pit stop. I'm assuming this is going to be the final stops for everybody who is in the pits right now. Iggy, at least you don't have any pressure on you for the race. I've got all the pressure on me. Bloody hell. I was expecting not to have any. 110 seconds was the gap, by the way, between Scanlon and Coldman as Scanlon entered the pits. So it'll be interesting to see what that drops down to. Scanlon's already going through the next corners after the back straight. So, yeah, Coldman just going through Eau Rouge himself now. As there's a driver off track in Eau Rouge, kind of letting him pass, but it kind of looked like a little mistake there to me. Morrow and Weatherston looking like they are glued to the back of each other coming up Eau Rouge. Oh, and he completely cuts the corner. Completely cuts the corner, does Morrow, but gets away with it. Which is the crucial thing. Didn't get any penalties. Could have got a warning, because I'm sure he gained time cutting it by that much. So he could have got a warning. You get a certain number of warnings, and if you don't heed to the warnings that you get, it does keep you updated on how many that you have. Then you do eventually get a drive-through penalty, which you see happen a few times every race. It's happened to Matty by the looks of it in P16. But if he comes in and comes out, he might still be in the top 20 at least. He was quick last time it rained as well. The rain is still looking incredibly heavy. Now it's gone from, instead of a 10 plus to a 10 minus. It's like when you get an A minus, it's worse than an A. Because it doesn't have a minus or a plus on how it's raining right now. I don't know, man. I don't know. If you know, tell me in the chat. How's the other Lexus driver doing? So we got Morrow, who's down in 23rd at the moment. So he might be getting a maximum time for his finish. Drive-through cleared for Matty. He's actually coming out of the pits now ahead of driver 19. That's Burkhart. He's multiple laps down. He's behind driver 26, who's also more than a lap up on him. Ryan, meanwhile, is back in the top 10. Oh, someone's completely in the barriers there. That's car number 13. That is Oliver. So he's reset to pits. That's bad news for BMW. His teammate Polty is in P17 as well. Morrow up in 3rd place, still defending for his life against Davey. And still not really coming under any major pressure. The lead at the front is down to 23 seconds. So Scanlon came into the pits maybe a little bit later than everyone else and has lost a little bit of time as well in the pits there. But he is still with a very comfortable 23-second lead over Coleman, who himself has a 14-second lead over Morrow. So since they came out the pits in these wet conditions, they are lapping fairly similarly. Number 13... in the pits, I think that might have been who the yellow flag was out for, but he's already in the pits, so I don't know why it's still waving there. Bit of a glitch by the looks of things. Weatherston, half a second down on Morrow now. The gap is starting to close between these two. And yeah, he maintains the lead by just 0.6 of a second at the end. So yeah, slipstream not really coming into effect here in this wet weather. Davey not able to close the gap on that McLaren too much. But yeah, battle between these two have won 3 of the 4 ACC titles that we've had in ALR. And they're battling only for P3 at the moment. Morrow had a very comfortable lead earlier on in the race and got some heavy damage, and then had an incident as well with Zico trying to unlap himself, and he's found himself in P3 trying desperately to cling on to this podium position from his longtime title rival. It's always these two at the front, and then just really close behind them is Scanlon. But Scanlon, despite having a huge off himself, still has a very comfortable lead for Team Admin in the Porsche ahead of Team Lexus, with Slim just having a very composed race, not really starting too far up. 23 seconds is the gap still, so he's lapping fairly similarly to Scanlon at the moment. And then the Nissan boys who've been dropping back. Stevenson has dropped back behind Cabras again. Cabras still nursing all of that damage that he's got, just ahead of DDK there, that's trying to unlap himself. DDK has fallen... Where's he fallen down to? He's fallen down to 9th. So P5 is still a lap up on P9. P9 just unlapping himself. So that's how big the gaps are once you get outside the top 5, essentially. P1 in the out of the B guys is still Rossi. It looks like he's a full lap up on Eroticos. So that is, yeah, that's very, very strong for Team Nissan. And then we got Ryan in P3. Just a little bit further back. Yeah, let's have a quick look at the timetables, because then it'll show us some more accurate times, I think. So we've been going for 88 minutes. Yeah, they are still on. He is still on the lead lap, Eroticos, compared to Rossi. So that's the crucial thing for him. I have to see if Ryan is still on the lead lap as well. It's difficult to see. Let's try and see where he is on the track compared to these guys. So Stevenson, number 26, just coming in through the 3rd sector. He isn't a lap down. He's about a sector away from being a lap down. So that's P1 versus P3 in the B lobby. Meanwhile, Coldman's actually lapping a bit quicker than Scully. He's closed the lead down to 21 seconds. I think he'd need to find a bit more pace or more consistent pace in the next 30 minutes if that's going to continue. But we still... Well, it looks like we're going to finish on a dry track. Coldman completely cuts the corner there. Saves it, though. Actually saves it pretty well. That might have lost him a good 3 or 4 seconds. We'll have to see, because his gap to Morrow currently is 13.6. So I have to see what that drops down to. His gap to Scanlon, I think, was around about 22 seconds before that. It's still around about 22 seconds, so that maybe he cut the corner a little bit. Or maybe Scanlon's been struggling himself as he's finishing his 34th lap. We're on lap 35 now. I think we got 51 out of the first race. Maybe it'll be a lot slower because of all the rain and all the extra pit stops that have been going on here. I was expecting 1 stops, to be honest with you. But the rain has certainly made things probably unbearable for a lot of these guys, to be fair. They're all struggling. Morrow in P3 still battling with Davey. Let's see what's going on here. It looks like they're both trying to find the same spot on the track, and Morrow's doing some really good defensive driving there through the final chicane. Going to be starting lap 35. This is good news for Coldman, because if they're battling each other, they're not catching him. But I think they're doing both, to be fair. The gap now down to 12 seconds. This is McLaren versus an Aston Martin. Two cars that are pretty solid in this game. Used quite a lot on Wednesdays in the league that they have. They have a free car choice, every single person. Most popular car is the Ferrari, barely comfortably. And then it's the McLaren. Oh, he cuts the corner again, Morrow. That will have lost him momentum. Davy's definitely going to be fairly close in this braking zone, but is he going to be able to have a go? He looks like he's trying to pull alongside in the braking zone. He can't get it done. Morrow brakes really late there for the corner and makes the apex perfectly. It's good defending there, and still has about a half-second lead on Morrow. Right, they're going through the infield, so I'm a bit nervous to leave them to see what else is happening, to be honest. Because as soon as I do, I know there's going to be an overtake or an incident. No, let's stick with them. Let's stick with them. Or should we go down to Super Cracker, who is still doing a really good job ahead of Polty? Looks like there's a Lexus trying to put a lap on him there. Super Cracker is doing pretty good in ACC. He's pretty tidy at it. He's got Polty with damage behind him. He also cuts that corner. I bet the GT boys watching this will be a bit frustrated that they're cutting this corner pretty much every lap and not instantly getting quite brutal penalties. Polty trying to pull alongside Cracker. Cracker braking pretty nicely into the corner there, and yeah, there's not much Polty can do. Polty pretty quick himself on ACC, has had some really good top 10 results throughout his seasons when he's been racing, and yeah, he still can't do much. And then there's another car behind them, but I'm not sure who it is. Is it his teammate? Yeah, teammate. Polty has a lot of damage. He's let his teammate through to try and unlap himself and make some progress up the field. Meanwhile, at the front, we got Scanlon sliding his way through Radion there, and again cutting the corner. Coldman just coming through the LaSource hairpin now. Morrow still with a 6/10 lead over Weatherston, so let's see what's going to be happening through Eau Rouge and Radion. Let's see if they cut the corner again. Everyone's cutting it and just seems to be getting away with it because they're lifting enough, which I don't think is in the spirit of racing around here, but also it's probably pretty impossible to take in these wet conditions, so I understand it happening. Oh, he makes it beautifully that time. So did Weatherston. Neither of them cutting it, and it looks like Morrow actually took the corner a little bit better. There's more than a couple of cars widths between them for the first time for a little while. They're approaching a nice purple car that they're going to be lapping fairly soon as well. Scanlon starting to gap Coleman a little bit more by an extra second and a half. Morrow very wide there on to the rumble strips, which is pretty dangerous, but he gets away with it again. And yep, the car gets out the way. Morrow and Weatherstone are absolutely carving into Slim's lead as well. They might actually catch him before the end. So Slim doesn't have P2 wrapped up here. He was 12-13 seconds ahead of Morrow. Now he's only 9.8. Morrow starting to feel more comfortable now that he's got his car fixed. Even though he's coming under pressure himself and putting laps on a bunch of cars. He's about to lap Davies' teammate as well coming up. So let's see if he gets out of the way. Let's see who's that. Munkin. Let's ride on board with Munkin. We haven't given him much screen time today. He's actually not getting caught that quickly. Rain continues to be very heavy. We haven't seen the plus or the minus on the current rain though, so it's just consistently quite hefty rain. Morrow coming under pressure himself from Weatherstone coming into this corner. So he's in a bit of an Aston sandwich here. Munkin gets out of the way and there's been a spin. Morrow's been spun around at the final corner. He does a nice 360 pirouette, but loses quite a bit of time there to Davey. He's 2 seconds behind. Let's see if Davey waits for him. I'm not sure if there's a fault there, but it looked pretty avoidable, I would say. And yeah, Morrow down outside the top 3 now, down in 4th position in his McLaren. It was looking very comfortable for him. Davey into the podium positions in his Aston now. And maybe he's going to try and chase down Coleman. He's got 9.2 seconds at the moment. Coleman's just got plenty of clear air. And he's got 27 seconds to Scanlon as well. So it's looking pretty comfortable where he is for now, as long as he can continue driving as smoothly as he has been. Lots and lots of incidents in this race. It looks like he doesn't have any damage on his car, which is important. He's got such a huge lead back to Freddie Cabras, who is probably, well, he's multiple seconds away, and he's actually getting out of the way for car number 22. Who's car number 22? That is Arotikos, actually, who's on... Was he unlapping himself? I thought it was car number 22. Anyway, what's the gap between Stevenson and Arotikos? These are the top 2 now in the B class. So Rossi is at the Lasource hairpin and Arotikos is half a lap down. This is a big win for Nissan at the moment in this class, with Ryan a little bit further back. It's probably 30-40 seconds off of Arotikos, maybe 50. I don't know. No, 47 and a half seconds he is off of Arotikos. So something strange would have to happen for Arotikos to lose his P2 in this race. You are living under the illusion that the ACC League is much cleaner than GT7. Is it the rain that causes the chaos? You're a Patreon. Oh, well, actually, do Patreons get access to the ACC submissions? You should see some of the pile-ups. First lap with 30 cars on the track. It is carnage, at least somewhere in the field. It's like, really, what you want to be doing if you're an ACC driver is be one of the quickest guys so that you can start ahead of wherever the carnage happens. Or just start in the pit lane, because at least you can drive past the 10, 20, 15 cars that end up having a huge pile-up on the first lap, and you come out of it unscathed just a little bit further back. So if you are in the mid-pack, there is a high likelihood that you start lap 1 about 10 minutes into the race, because you've had to reset to pits, to be honest. But yeah, it's been happening all throughout the race, hasn't it? Obviously the rain isn't helping, so yeah, let's give them a bit of grace on that, because it has been very tough conditions for all of them. But it's about to get dry. In the next 10 minutes it should stop raining. 26 seconds between Scanlon and Slim at the moment, and we've got Davey just coming up to complete his first sector. He was 9 odd seconds behind Slim. He's still 9.4 behind, so not making much progress. Morrow is 2.3 behind him, and might try and get that position back before the end of the race. Very similarly paced are Davey and Morrow at the moment, but they're not closing in on Coldman like they were previously. There's Munkin finally getting lapped by Morrow. It's taken a couple of laps with all of the action. Oh, nearly loses it. That was a lot of runoff taken. I think like 3 of the 4 tyres were on the runoff at that point, but it's kept it on track and probably floored it as well. So I don't think we can say that any driver out of any of the 30 has put a foot wrong, because Scanlon's winning and he's been in the wall and had really heavy damage, but he's still got a 26-second lead at the front. So his pace has been unreal, especially keeping similar pace to everyone else in the top 5 whilst his car was that badly damaged. It didn't seem to affect him as much as you'd expect it to. But once he fixed the damage, he's just been pretty much in a class of maybe 1, 2 or 3. But Zico's struggling with the amount of pit stops that he's made, and Morrow's struggled with his own damage, which impacted him a little bit more than Scanlon, and then he's had that little incident with Weatherston as well. But it looks like Weatherston's given him that position back. So there is the sportsmanship for the initial incident, and they're going to probably restart their battle between each other for the rest of the race, because it's just them two on track now for a little bit of time. They're not going to have any lapped cars keeping them company for a little bit. The next car ahead of them is car number 6, although there is a car out on its own there. That's Griffith. He's still in the pits actually, so we can ignore that one. There's Slim all on his own, and then Morrow and Davey coming through Radion, actually making the corner as well this time. Really strong performance from the top 4 pace-wise. Then there's quite a big gap back to Cabras, who himself has done pretty strong. Remember, Cabras is a silver driver on Wednesdays, and he's up in P5. So, yeah, he's definitely been impressive this season. Potentially, well, I think he's a shoo-in to get promoted to gold for next season. Proving why again here. We have 17 minutes left of this race. So we're in this home stretch. We're over 3/4 of the way in. 39 laps into the race. It has been absolutely treacherous for these guys. The rain is still pouring incredibly heavy, but it's not going to be for much longer. And then it's going to be a question of who can adapt to the changing conditions as the track starts to dry, find the grip first, and start tearing into some of these gaps that other people have. Cabras just 0.4 of a second ahead of his teammate Rossi once again, who's caught up to the back of him. Cabras still with that damage that he's had for about half an hour potentially. He's just let Rossi through, so Rossi up into P5 now. Rossi going to try and create an even bigger gap to Rotkos behind him, who is still a similar distance behind, completely on his own now, which it will be suiting him just fine. I think he'll be pretty happy with this performance, solidly in the top 10. Davey just nestled right under a second behind Morrow, not really getting much closer and not really losing much time either, so he'll be hoping that he can close the gap in the next few corners. I'd actually like to drive on board with him. Let's see what happens at this hairpin. Nothing at the moment. Let's there we go. Let's ride on board with Davey as he tries to close the gap. So that gap looks pretty big. It's only 0.4 of a second. It looks a lot bigger than that from this angle from chase cam. Looks like a better turn 1 for Morrow. He gets closer to the apex at La Source and gets on the exit a little bit quicker as well, which is giving him more of a run down to Eau Rouge. Down the hill here. Let's listen. He does lift quite a lot to make the corner. That just shows you how wet it is. They don't have much confidence at all through Eau Rouge and Radion. Huge lift in order to make it through. from both of them, but they do make it. Potentially being a little bit more careful now than they were previously, where they were cutting Radeon on a few laps actually. They might be on the last warnings before a drive-through penalty as well. We have to wait in the last 15 minutes. That could really become a factor for a lot of these guys. And yeah, a bit of a tidier corner on entry for Davey, but then he looked like he goes very slightly deep and has to fix his rotation a little bit, which allows Morrow to get a stronger exit. And Morrow looked a little bit more comfortable to take more of the curb on the exit of that next corner, which is giving him a bit more of a lead as well, but he's still being kept honest. A little bit of a better braking, trail braking there from Davey, and he's taking tighter lines through that corner. It looks like Morrow had to lift a little bit after going a little bit wide through the exit of that corner to bring Davey a little bit closer again. Yeah, it's just a little bit of seesawing back and forth, neither of them making any big errors in the corners or having any moments, but you're seeing them get a little bit closer, a little bit further away. Much stronger couple of corners there from Morrow compared to Davey, which has allowed him to slingshot his way onto the straight. But it looks like Davey's really closing the gap quickly through this back straight as he lifts massively there, a little bit more than Morrow. Morrow goes a little bit wide, but rejoins the track pretty safely and breaks well and truly in front of Davey here. So Davey really struggling to find any opportunity on that lap to pull alongside. Had a really strong final chicane there, cut the time in half, the gap between them both. Now the gap is only 0.4 of a second, which is much closer. You'll notice that the braking boards on the right are not there for these guys, so if they relied on that 50-meter marker as a reference point, it is gone now. I think the 100-meter marker is still there, so that's probably the more helpful one out of the two of them, at least. Now, if he's brave through Eau Rouge and Radeon, he can get alongside, but he tries to push a little bit too hard, has to cut Radeon again, loses... Well, actually, does he lose momentum? It looks like he didn't lose or gain any momentum on Morrow, actually. He does have a bit of a run on Morrow. He's definitely in the slipstream. Lap 41, 13 minutes left. And a little bit wide there for Davey. And yeah, still nothing to be done between them. What about Zico? Zico has actually caught up to the back of Rossi. I'm pretty sure he's a full lap behind Rossi at one point. And look at the difference in lines between the two of them. Zico feeling a little bit more planted to the racing line, and Rossi going a little bit wide on some of these corners. Zico's looking racy. These two have won quite a bit in ALR. And Zico's got a run on Rossi here. Rossi's going to have to go defensive into the La Source hairpin. Let's see if he can do it. A little bit of a switch back, I think Zico's going to try. And is he going to get it? He does get a good exit compared to Rossi. But is he going to try it into Eau Rouge in these conditions? It is damp now. It has stopped raining and the conditions are damp. Oh, a little bit of lag between him and Rossi. What's Rossi up to? He's off track a little bit there. Not quite sure what happened, but Rossi got a better exit. That was a bit of a poor internet connection from, I think, probably Rossi there for glitching. But he gets away with keeping P5 for now. Davey, meanwhile, coming into the final chicane, still stuck behind Morrow. He took a lot of time off Morrow through here, looking really comfortable. Looks like he's going to do it again with Morrow looking a little bit dodgy on the exit, losing a bit of traction, going far to the left. And that was a beautiful corner from Davey, but it didn't really translate into the time eaten into Morrow there. So Zico ahead of Rossi now. He's somehow gotten past Rossi. I wish we had a replay button so that we could have seen what happened, but Rossi's struggling around this corner massively, is losing time. He's only got maybe 12 seconds on Freddie Cabras now, who might fancy a position as well. So Rossi really struggling at this point in the race. He's lost a position. The track is drying, so potentially it's not suiting him as much as the wet conditions were, and he's losing pace now. Morrow, meanwhile, has lost the position to Davey. After we were looking at that, we missed another great overtake there from Davey. So Davey is up into P3 again. He's got a bit of a lead on Morrow, and again, it looks like he's already starting to drive away from Morrow now that he's got past him. So gaps starting to open up now that the track is drying. It's changing a lot on. It's changing a lot on what we can see here. Let's see what's happening to the lead. Davies 9.9 behind Coldman, by the way. So after all that, still Coldman has a comfortable lead. Coldman's just about to come through the next sector point after the next corner, so we'll see what the gap between him and Scanlon is. Scanlon's just approaching the final chicane now. And he's about to approach a lot of traffic, which might cause some issues. 25 seconds is the lead now. So it is still fairly stable. Davey in third place, another 10 seconds off, so he's 35 seconds off the lead. 36 seconds off for Morrow. And then there's another big gap back to Zico, who's not quite a lap down anymore, but he's just coming to finish his first sector now, and Scanlon's already on his run down to Eau Rouge. I think he reaches Eau Rouge just as he hits the sector point. So Zico's and Rossi haven't been lapped yet. Cabras is about to get lapped for the first time. He's the last driver, the top 7, still on the lead lap, but it's not going to be for long because Cabras getting caught pretty quickly from Scanlon, and you don't want to go a lap down, and maybe that damage is what's causing him to finish the race potentially a lap down on Scanlon here. So yeah, Cabras just on his own a little bit there. Zico is now 4.5 ahead of Stevenson. Morrow has caught right back up to the back of Weatherston. He wants this position back again. He's not let it go without a fight. They are pretty close together on track once again. 9.4 is the gap between them and Coleman, so it's looking pretty likely that this is the battle for the final podium position. Weatherston under a lot of pressure. He's used to putting a lot of other drivers on pressure. Goes very wide there. That's going to open the door for Morrow. Weatherston going defensive for the next corner, and it looks like he's going to keep that position despite nearly losing his car there. So that was a great recovery to keep P3. Morrow's going to try a little bit of a switch back through the corner, a little bit of a different line, but it hasn't worked out that way. Weatherston keeps the position for now. Still not over yet, but Weatherston really just has to focus on keeping the car planted on the track, avoid any hairy moments, because the slightest mistake is going to be capitalized by Morrow. I remember they were having a nice little battle a couple of seasons ago where it got to the point where Weatherston just wasn't putting a foot wrong and Morrow had the pace, and he didn't have much of a choice but to try and go for a very ambitious move on Weatherston, which didn't quite work out. So we'll have to see if we see a repeat of that, or if Davey manages to keep Morrow behind. End of lap 43 for these guys, just starting lap 44. Davey starting to feel a little bit more comfortable that in his battle against Morrow. Zico now in 5th place, 8.8 ahead of Stevenson, but he's going to be too far behind to register a time deficit to Morrow, who's more than half a lap ahead of him at this point. So huge gaps between these guys. This might be, this rain chaos might be what decides the outcome depending on how the timings end up getting added up. But I'm assuming this was just done in haste, and total times are actually what's going to count, all added together. So if you're a lap down, that's what, 1 minute 20, 2 minute 20. Add that to whatever gap they are down, and yeah, that might. Well, there'll be a lot of drivers on over a lap down though, to be honest. Gap still 0.4 of a second between Morrow and Weatherston. We've only got 5 minutes to go. It's been a very long 2 hours. It's been, well, it was dry, then it rained, then it dried, then it rained, then it dried, then it rained. Now we've got a damp track, and it'll probably be at least greasy, if not dry, by the end of this race. Probably have another 3-ish laps left in us. Scanlon extending his lead on Coldman as well to 27 seconds now. So it's looking even stronger for Team Admin. Man, I can't deal with it. Ryan still in 10th as well, P3 in class. So that would be a P2 for Gunmad earlier in the race. P1 Scanlon and P2 3 for Ryan. So a triple podium for Team Admin. Then it's going to be me against all these tier 1 guys. Oh, bloody hell. Well, at least I'm starting at the back. The only way is up from there. Slim's washed. I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. If Slim's washed, what does that make everyone that he's beating? This is like, he's not even raced in 10 ACC races and he's going to take P2 here. Amazing result. But he's the one that stayed out the longest. He's only made, I think he's only made 1 pit stop. He was maybe made 2 at this point. But less pit stops than everyone else, and it looks like Morrow is finally closing in. Morrow's windscreen wipers are going off, but it's not raining, so there's that. He's forgot to turn them off. But he's really closing the gap now on Weatherston. The gap is 0.3 of a second, and Weatherston looks like he's pulling away on the straight and not going to come under enough pressure to be troubled. But they are approaching a lapped car, the car number 6. Who's car number 6? Car number 6 is Coldman. They're actually approaching Coldman pretty quickly because Coldman must have made a mistake. He's only 7 seconds now ahead of Weatherston. So Weatherston lapping pretty quickly at the moment, even though Morrow's right on his tail. But only 2 minutes left. It still should be too big of a gap to find. But yeah, it's not going to be. There's not going to be any lapped cars between them for the end of the race. What happened to Zico at the start with the 2 quick pit stops? He's made at least 2 more pit stops than everyone else. Not sure why. His car didn't look particularly badly damaged, but maybe, I don't know, maybe he made a mistake and he had to come in a second time. But yeah, it really has cost him. He's been the quickest guy on track. At one point he was a lap down on multiple drivers, but now he's on the lead lap quite comfortably. So that just shows how good his pace has been. He's really rescued what was a tragic position earlier on, so we'll have to ask him what happened so that we can find out, because yeah, he could have easily won this race. The leader is on the final lap. That is Scanlon. He's just started his final lap. We've got 1 minute 55 left, and we know that he's not going to set a time quicker than that, so this is going to be the final lap for the leader, and then everyone behind him is going to filter through to take the checkered flag. A few drivers are going to finish up in the pits as well, so that's going to be multiple laps down for them. Probably bring them out of contention. So there's only going to be a few drivers on the lead lap here, which is going to be massive for them. From the gold, you've got the Team McLaren, Team Aston, Team Lexus, Team Admin, and I think, is Cabra still on the lead lap? Yeah, he is. Actually, there's a few people that I think might be on the lead lap still. Oh, Morrow might potentially be as well. We'll have to wait and see what happens, because I don't know if they're nearly 2 laps down or just nearly 1 lap down with all the shuffling that's been going on with the rain and all the pit stops. Yeah, he doesn't play ACC much. I think he might race in a different league, I'm not too sure. But if it was intentional, Well, I don't know. I just think the pit lane was too long to try it. If he was trying something tactical there, it hasn't worked out in the strategy department anyway for Zico. But pace-wise, he should join ALR, and he could probably win it. To be honest, after what we've seen today, lots of quick guys are joining ALR. Who's car number 2? He's got a yellow flag brought out. He's just stationary. I don't know if he's out of fuel. If this car doesn't look like it's badly beaten up or anything. He's just parked it. He's returned to the pit, so that's going to drop him some extra places on this final lap. He's going to be an extra lap down basically on everybody. So that's unfortunate for him. We've got. Let's just give Scanlon some love at the end of the race, though. He hasn't. Well, he's only put one foot wrong, and it was quite a big foot. But he is. We've got another yellow flag out. We've got car number 3. That's oh, Morrow out, and he's yeah. He looks like he had an incident on that lap. Potentially lost some. No, he hasn't lost any positions, but he's lost some time for sure. But anyway, rounding the final corner to take victory for the admin team. A fantastic drive for Scanlon. Takes an absolutely phenomenal, massive lead. Then we've got Coldman, aka Slim, Eric Slim, about to take a fantastic P2, another P2 this season. This time in the charity race for the Lexus. He's made the strategy of just stay out work absolutely perfectly. Even though he's losing a lot of time at one point, he's had an absolutely fantastic drive to beat a lot of top drivers here. P2 for Slim. Coming around the final corner, Weatherston does keep Morrow behind him, so a podium for Weatherston, a solid P4 for Morrow, and then we have Zico with the fastest lap, quite a way behind before he comes to finish the race. He's got a 20-second lead. It's basically what could have been. We've got Cabras finishing in 7th. We've got all of the lap drivers crossing the finish line as well. We only got 2 more drivers on the lead lap here. Zico and Stevenson, who is actually in the B tier, beating his teammate, his A driver, Cabras, which is pretty impressive stuff, and actually get to the last lap in, which Cabras doesn't manage. Aroticos is going to be P2 for Silver Class as we continue to watch Zico complete his final lap and see all the other drivers finish. It looks like DDK Van Hoften is P9 in the Ferrari. He's going to get a top 10, and Ryan is going to make it 2 admin drivers in the top 10 here, so that's going to be a great result for Team Admin as well. Yeah, GG's to Slim. He's rookie of the season, that's for sure. Seems to be very composed at ACC from what I've seen so far. It's easy for a rookie to have some disasters in ACC because there's a lot that you can get wrong. So it hasn't really affected him this season. Zico finally at the bus stop chicane crosses the line for the final time to take a solid top 5 after a great drive. Just some strategy decisions maybe that needs to be worked on. And the last person on the lead lap, Rossi comes back to ALR and proves to everyone that he's still got it, still finishing on the lead lap. Better than every driver which was classed as a B driver in this lobby by quite a substantial margin in the Nissan, even beats his teammate and finishes in 6th. And that's it. Got a few more drivers to come across the finish line. You got Andy Pole, might be one of the last ones. JP's still out there, even though it says he's crossed the checkered flag, he's still going, and Tierney, one of the last ones as well. So let's have a quick look at the timetable and see what happens here. Let's look at the come on, the race would help. So in the silver you got Stevenson. Oh come on lads, this stupid game. Right, in the silver you got Stevenson, Popov, Ryan, Zito, Fracas, Davis, Polty, Cracker, Munkin, Mate in the top 10. Then you got Maura, who's OG Moose King. You got Greenwood, you got Tierney, and you got Abmo in P14. And then in the overall class you got Scanlon, Coleman, and Weatherston in the top 3 as we've seen. And let's just scroll down to the bottom so that we could see all the times. Some people didn't finish the race, unfortunately. They're multiple laps down as well. But that's it. I need to go because I need to set up the final lobby. So thanks for watching, guys. And yeah, see you in Stint 3.